Congratulations, you have found the Lambcast, the official podcast of the large association of movie blogs, also known as the Lamb. The Lamb is the largest collective of online movie blogs and podcasts with 2,000 members and counting. Every week on the Lambcast, various members of the Lamb community get together to talk about our favorite subject, movies. So bookmark the Lamb and follow us on social media. Be sure to join us each week to hear a lively discussion of films and movie-related talk from our members. Join the flock at largeassmovieblogs.com.
The heat is on, my friends. This week on the Lambcast, we have a draft that will make all other draft shows feel like a hellhole. Take a look at me now, because we're about to cut footloose with a show filled with movies that stick with us still after 40 years. You might hope that you could relax, but if you're holding out for a hero, you'll be waiting a long time. There may be no more lonely nights because we're together in electric dreams and all the lambs are doing the neutron dance. But instead of going skeet surfing, let's go crazy and try not to reach the big bottom, but rather almost paradise. Who are you going to call when doves cry? Probably the Ghostbusters, because they make you feel good. I just called to say I love you and to get all these lambs to pick their favorite films from 1984, and that's no sex crime. Welcome to episode 742 of the Lambcast. I'm your host, Richard Kirkham from Kirkham A Movie A Day. There are many great years in the history of American films. 1939 is usually cited as the greatest year of American cinema, and with Gone with the Wind, The Wizard of Oz, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and a dozen others, it would be hard to disagree. 1975 and 1982 are also known as vintage years, but for some reason 1984 stands out as special to the Lamb community. Maybe it was the diversity of the films, maybe the consistent quality, or maybe it was just what was on cable when we were kids. We'll do 5 rounds of the draft so everyone can create a team with 5 films. We do a snake draft, so the last person in the first round will go first in the second round, thus having back-to-back selections, and then the same at the other end. Any film released in the U.S. in 1984 calendar year is eligible, so whether you want Ghostbusters or Secret Honor, your movie had to get a theatrical release in 1984. So who's playing with us this week? Greetings, Aaron Newworth. You've been selected by the Lamb to defend the year 1984.
Hey, well, as I normally say, cyborgs don't feel pain, but I do.
Todd Liebenow, are you a god?
I know that you're supposed to say yes, so I will say yes.
That's the correct answer this time. Damian Riley, as Shepherd of the Lamb, an organization of over 2,000 member states who represent almost all of the inhabitants of the planet Earth, I send greetings.
Well, hello, I'm a Gray. It's nice to be here.
Good evening, Howard Kasner. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Since time is short and you may lie, I'm going to have to torture you. But I want you to know it isn't personal.
Is Big Brother watching?
I don't know. I can't see through the boot on my face. That was the end of Grogan, the man who killed my father, raped and murdered my sister, burned my ranch, shot my dog, and stole my Bible. But if there's one law of the West, bastards had brothers who seemed to ride forever. And here comes the Vern.
Yippee-ki-yay, I don't know.
All right. So we all want to have some fun. Don't be shy about cheering on others' bad choices or expressing disappointment when someone snatches your favorite film right before you pick. We can all talk about our selections, but as I've said, we try and keep this show under 3 hours. We need to be a little circumspect. So I'll keep an eye on the time a little bit for us. All right, once the selections are made, there'll be a poll that gets put up to the community, and they can vote on who created the best slate of films. But I know some people don't care about winning the poll. They just want to get the films that they love as opposed to the ones that they think are going to get them votes. I can never decide which is the best way to go. It's always hard for me, so we'll see how it all comes out. Todd, by a roll of the spinning wheel, you were selected to go first. I don't have any doubt about what you're going to pick first. But you know what? If you want to pick something else, that would be okay with me.
Well, yeah, I'm going to be very predictable. I mean, I always say that 1984 is my favorite movie year. It was the year that kind of opened up horizons to me as a movie fan. I always say I became a movie fan because of Star Wars, and my life was all around Star Wars, so 77, 80, 83, Star Wars. And then after that, I was like, well, what do I do? And then 84 came along and brought me all these fantastic movies. And so I have to pick my favorite movie from my favorite movie year. So my first pick is Ghostbusters.
Nice.
A surprise to
Which-
absolutely nobody on this show, by the way.
No. I mean, I've said it before. I have absolutely no flaws with the original Ghostbusters. I think it's a perfect movie. It's a wonderful mix of genre stuff and comedy. So many wonderful comedic performances in the film. From the ones that jump out at you right away, like Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. But I will always be a Rick Moranis. Always sell the love for Rick Moranis in this movie.
Hell yeah.
So yeah. Ghostbusters had to be my first pick.
It's still scary too. To this day, it's still scary, and that's very rare for like horror comedies to actually still be scary and funny. Great pick.
Would anybody else have picked Ghostbusters if they had gone first?
Not first, but it would have been in my list.
Yeah.
Depending on how I structured my list, there's a possibility, but I didn't structure it a way to fit Ghostbusters in. That said, Ghostbusters is one of my favorite comedies, and there's few bits that make me laugh more than when they're all covered in marshmallow and then Bill Murray walks out and he just has like a dollop on his head. And it's okay.
Amen.
Yeah.
There is so much in this film that's fun. And by the way, 90% of everything that Bill Murray says is gold, and the other 10% is just silver.
Yes.
I like that. I agree.
All right. Well, Vern, the pick is now yours. So who are you what are you taking in the first round on your first pick?
All right. Well, I have to do this. Being the fact that I am from Minneapolis, Minnesota, if I do not make this pick, I will be ostracized, and I will be shunned, and I will be banned. I will no longer be able to visit any music venue.
I was going to say, will you
in our
be left
town.
out in the purple rain?
Yeah, yes, very much so. Yes, my pick is Purple Rain, Prince's debut feature. Great movie. It's a true story, but fictionalized true story of his life. He plays the kid. Scott Morse Day and the Time in there as well. Vanity Six. The songs from Prince and the Revolution are just really great. They are the shining stones of this movie. The live performances are just great. But Purple Rain is one of my it's a great movie, and I had to pick it for my first pick of the '84 draft. I had to. I'm in Minnesota here. It's it would be a rule. It'd be weird if I didn't.
Understood.
So Vern, have you been cleansed in the waters of Lake Minnetonka?
Yes, I have. Yes. So, yes.
I didn't factor in Vern's Minnesota heritage into my list. This is really upsetting. He stole Purple Rain from the black guy in the podcast. Fine.
But it was a music selection, and Vern is a music guy, so he's entitled. We won't call it appropriation. We'll just call it fandom.
Yes.
Damien, the choice is now yours. From 1984, what's your first pick?
Romancing the Stone.
Ooh. Great one.
And you know what? I'm learning to just say things instead of build up to things, but I really wanted to give you a lecture, Rich, about your comment you made that you don't know. You're at a fork in the road with, do I go with my gut or do I go with what the people will vote on? Maybe I'm just new to this show, but dude, you go with your gut, man. Always.
Sure.
That's usually
That's
the way
free.
it ends up.
Free advice.
That's usually the way it ends up.
All right.
Kathy Turner, Michael Douglas, Dan DeVito always have great chemistry with each other. I know that Robert Zemeckis was kind of in a slump before he made this movie. He didn't really have any box office hits, and then he made this with Bob Gale, and it just blew up and became a big hit.
Or either that, Vern, or it could be that I was just in the complete central part of puberty at age 14 when freaking Kathleen Turner's knees come out of that water. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Nice. True.
You know what I mean. You're not saying anything.
No, I do.
Kathleen Turner was great, and she was like hitting the top spot of her career in the 1980s. She blew up like crazy after Body Heat and the this movie is just like it cemented her stardom. And she and Michael Douglas did at least 2 more movies together, including 2 with Danny DeVito that you mentioned, the sequel to this, and the one DeVito directed,
War of the Roses.
War of the Roses,
When
which was the most depressing romantic film I ever
When
saw.
I talk to people in their 20s, okay, I always forget to say Alien, number 1. But I always forget this one. I always forget to tell people to watch this because it's so unwatched by young people. I find so is Alien, believe it or not. Like with your average 20-year-old that you meet on the street, they haven't even seen the original Alien. So see that first. But then after that, this is just what I call the jewels. What are they? The jewel? Where are they going for?
The Jewel of the Nile.
Or something? Yeah, they're going for the Jewel of the Nile or something.
No, that's round 2.
That's the second one.
Oh, sorry, but yeah, you know that jewel they're going
Yes.
for in this? Yeah, the stone, But anyway, everybody needs to see this film. I wish it just would go in wide release again, but I'm going to shut up.
It's okay. Damien knows what he's talking about. He has 20-year-olds in his classes, and
Yes.
I'm sure the subject comes up of a movie, and he looks at them
It does.
flabbergasted that they haven't seen Alien. That happens to me all the time, and I would just go, yeah, I need to get out of here.
Exactly.
Aaron, your turn.
In the realm of comedy, there's certainly plenty of options. But I'm going for not only a comedy, not only a music film, but a rockumentary.
Oh,
Aaron.
This is Spinal Tap. That's right. It's mine. I've taken it.
Yeah.
I've taken this Rob Reiner classic.
I would almost give mine up for that. I can't believe you did that. I thought
Yes.
nobody would.
Stole it from
I
me,
was being
Aaron.
like,
Yes, stole
I was
it.
being
Son
like
of a-
Richard. I was like, oh, nobody's going to pick that. See, so I'm guilty of it, Richard. Anytime somebody gives you advice, it's always because they're guilty of it.
Yeah, this is Spinal Tap. Is
Oh,
everything about it works? I mean, it's just nothing to say.
you got it.
It's only under 90 minutes, and it's like the laughs per minute ratio in this movie is incredible. That's what always every time I rewatch it, I'm like, I can't believe how much it's like, I don't know, like Airplane in that way, where just like every single thing has something going for it, and this brilliant cast of Guest, McKean, and Shearer, the many people that pop up, the many gags, the way we learn about this band and the way it works as a documentary and the way it's structured, it has an arc. It has so much going for it, and yet it's just absolutely hysterical.
And the songs are great too. I mean, yes, it's very funny, but the songs are legitimately great.
I like hearing this band, as ridiculous as some of the songs are.
Yeah.
The hair metal presence of McKean and Guest when they're just raging on guitars while singing these ridiculous numbers.
I love how you say, Aaron, that it works as a documentary. I felt that all along as well, so much so that when I exposed my kids to this movie, because there's always these moments where Dad's like, we're going to sit down and watch this movie. Mm-hmm. I sat them down and they're like, what are we watching? I said, we're going to watch a documentary about a rock band. I did not tell them that was fake. And they bought it the whole time. And when it was done, I said, guys, this isn't real. These guys, I said, see the guy playing lead guitar? That's the 6-fingered man from The Princess Bride. They're like, what? And I thought about trying the same thing again on What We Do in the Shadows, but I didn't think they would go for it.
We don't have to talk about vampires, guys.
You need to write a blog post on how to get your youngsters to watch movies with you.
You force them. You tie them to the couch.
Oh my God! You can't force kids to do anything, especially my kids. But you know what? In secrecy, like when we're out and about and just like in an unguarded moment, they'll say stuff like that. Like, hey, remember the 6-fingered man? And I'll go, oh my God, you were paying attention. That's good.
That's good. Yeah, I like it. Kids are stupid. They're gullible. So you can fool them. But adults were gullible at the time, too. I remember hearing about the previews for this, and so many people said, why are we watching this documentary about this no-name band? And they didn't realize that it was just a movie.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it is unique in its own way. I mean, there's other like mockumentaries of sorts. I think of what like Real Life from Albert Brooks is before this at this point, but like there's not a lot of this kind of a thing at this point, and so it
And the
does.
whole reason people buy it is because of Rob Reiner. That's the whole
like,
reason.
it-
He
Marty
is so
DeBerg.
deadpan with that hat on. And I think it's the same kind of hat like Steven Spielberg would wear, or maybe it even is the same hat Steven Spielberg wears, when he does like off-camera interviews and stuff. He's got that hat on, it's just like, it's easy to fall into it. I've been watching it consciously for so many years. I almost can't even imagine thinking it was fake, but I think when I first saw it, that's the whole fun of it. You get pulled into it. You think it's real. You think it's this MTV thing you stumbled upon, and it's freaking hilarious.
Who's Rob Reiner? I thought it was Marty DeBerger who made his Spinal Tap documentary. I don't know what you're talking about. Rob Reiner.
Oh, that's pretty good. Touche.
All right, Howard, we've rolled around to you. All those films are now off the table. You have to find something else worthy. Like that's going to be hard for this year.
I went the usual way of my five favorite films, or what I consider the best films of the year. And the first one is Stranger Than Paradise,
Hey,
which is Jim Jarmusch's second feature, the one that really got him known. It's a deadpan comedy. I call it a slacker comedy. It's in black and white. It's about Willie, who along with his friend Eddie end up hosting Willie's cousin Eva from Hungary, though Willie doesn't want to. When Eva leaves, Willie and Eddie go to visit her, and the three go to Florida. There's a very funny ending. It's a very, very, very quirky comedy that might not be to everyone's taste. It's a movie in which really not a lot happens, but it's just so funny.
I just put it on my watch list. I haven't seen that one, believe it or not. I thought I'd seen them all, but I can't wait now, Howard.
I'm a big Jarmusch fan, and what I love about Stranger Than Paradise is his style. He absolutely found his style right away. Like he evolved in terms of scale, perhaps, and like how to manage budgets and bigger casts. But in terms of like what he intends to put on screen, he's never felt confused about what he's trying to do with his films.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I feel like we should just pause right now and give me an extra hour. Let me go watch it. No, just kidding.
And we're back. We took a break, and we're now seeing Stranger Than Paradise.
Yes, everybody sit out there for 2 hours and wait. That's not going to happen.
It looks great, though. I can't wait. Howard always has these little secret greats, That's supposed to be a compliment. You're supposed to say thank you.
I know, I took it as such, too.
Okay,
I did take it as a compliment.
All right.
I'm just laughing because it's true.
It is true.
Yeah.
I had you on my podcast at least twice, I think.
That's
Yeah,
because
just
Howard's
saying.
always got a
Yeah.
good film for us to find
And
discover.
sure.
So that's good. That's good. Okay, well, we're at the end of the first round, and I get the last pick on the first round, and there are so many films to choose from. Only a couple that I would have picked have been taken. Fortunately, the one that I'm going to take first is still sitting right there in front of me, and I love it. Oh my goodness! I just saw it on the big screen a week ago. If there's a movie in the world that I could make people love, this would be it. The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension.
Oh my God.
This movie is so
Key point.
off the charts weird and full of idiosyncrasies that just are so appealing to me, and it was a huge failure. It opened on hardly any screens at all. They did $600,000 the first weekend. Yeah. That's not one theater. That's all 300 theaters across the country. That's as much money as they made. It was not a success at all. And the studio hated it, but the makers had confidence in it. They had so much confidence in it that they even planned a sequel that we never got. Damn it. I've got a book that is written that is supposed to be kind of a sequel to it, kind of a based on the World Crime League. So we'll see how that goes. I'm only a few pages into it. But the original Buckaroo Banzai, it is so quotable, it's ridiculous. And John Lithgow, I don't understand how he is not listed by everybody as one of the greatest character actors in the history of all time, based solely on this performance. His insane accent and wild eyes and bizarre body movements, it's just incredible.
This was going to be a key factor on my list, and so I hate you. But outside of that, I love it. I caught up with this movie. I want to say like maybe 6 or 7 years ago now at this point for the first time, and I mean it begins with we're introduced to Buckaroo Banzai as basically a neurosurgeon who test pilots rocket cars, and is also like the leader of a rock band, and that's all within like the first 15 minutes. And I'm watching this just thinking like, is this the greatest movie ever made? Like
it might very well be.
It is so much fun. I love this cast. Side note, as a huge fan of The Life Aquatic, which has an ending where all the characters are like walking in stride together as music plays, I'm like, they got that from this movie?
Yes.
That's amazing. It's just like all these things. And Peter Weller sums it up so well early on when he's talking to Ellen Barkin, like while she's like sad in the bar while he's trying to play, where he just like puts out there, wherever you go, there you are. And I'm like, rules. Like, what is this? Like, there's 90 more minutes of this movie I get to enjoy. Oh my god, I love Buckaroo Banzai. I fell in love with it instantly.
Good.
Yeah, see, when I saw it in the theater, I was like one of those people, that didn't go above the $600,000 or whatever dollars, that didn't. Well, I was like, what am I watching? I was a little freaking kid, I was 14, but all these movies I was. So that's what's so neat about it. I mean, I don't mean to age I don't want to like compare ages. I'm just giving my own personal, how I interpreted it. And I came from a very sheltered existence in Mission Viejo, planned community. And so when I saw a movie like this, I have to say I wasn't really free enough to really enjoy it. But watching it later in life, I remember this was so freaking good, It's later on when I grew up. But yeah, it was weird at first. I thought it was bizarre.
It is bizarre.
Yeah.
It's wonderfully bizarre and very earnest about how bizarre it is, which makes it great.
Yeah, it doesn't hide its bizarreness. It wears it on its sleeve and on its shoulders and on its back and on its pants. You can see its weirdness everywhere in this movie.
And Paul Weller himself is weird looking, his jawline.
Peter Weller is great. And by the way, we don't want to disrespect him. He's Dr. Peter Weller because he really is a PhD in, I believe it's literature and art.
Italian Renaissance art history.
Thank you. Italian Renaissance art history, yes. So Dr. Peter Weller and all of the rest of the cast. And, Jeff Goldblum walking around in the chaps and the 10-gallon hat. It's just a visual delight every time you look at it.
I love that it's set up where he's like, I've always wanted to be a cowboy. And then by the end of the film, he's like, oh, he's a cowboy now.
There you go. There you go. All right, we got to watch the time here. I'm having too much fun talking about The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai, and it's only my first film. However, on the wraparound, I do get my second film here, and this is where I gamble a little bit. I'm going to take a film that I really want, but I'm afraid if I wait any longer, somebody else will steal it. So I'll make some adjustments down the road. I'm going to take Streets of Fire.
Oh, Richard!
Richard! God, damn it.
Oh, apparently I hit a nerve there. Sorry to step on everybody. Not really sorry.
I was happy because I was ahead of time, so I knew I'd have a chance to get it.
Well, I do appreciate the enthusiasm because that tells me that people like this film. And this is another one of those films that bombed when it came out. I saw it and I loved it in 1984. I love it today. I could listen to the music in this movie anytime, any day of the week, but I could watch the movie just about the same amount because it is so great. And I know that Todd is a Rick Moranis fan from Ghostbusters. He's also in this movie a lot more obnoxious and less charming.
Like
I
a
mean,
tough guy.
you think, Moranis, you always think, oh, he's so lovable. He is a jerk
He's a
in
prick,
Streets
yeah.
of Fire. But no, I mean, I can't argue. I mean, Streets of Fire is a great choice. I mean, it's a movie that back in the day, my cable TV days here, it would have hit cable in '85. Watching it, it would show up on there, and it was one of those movies I'd always only catch one scene of, and I would never end up seeing the full movie. And then when I finally got to see the full movie, I was like, where have you been all my life? The movie is wonderful.
Knowing that this podcast was coming, I was like, well, this is the perfect opportunity to finally watch the 4K release that came out not too long ago, because I've seen the movie, but I haven't watched the 4K yet. It's so beautiful. It's such a wonderful movie to look at. I'm a huge fan of Walter Hill's The Warriors, and upon discovery of Streets of Fire, I'm like, wait, so there's like The Warriors again, but like more musically inclined. And it's like, oh my God.
I totally, in my mind, they exist in the same world.
Nice.
Watching it, that's my general take, where I'm like, oh, okay, so like across the bay,
Right.
like, this is happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan.
They sort of exist in the same world in another way. The Warriors is based on a true story that took place, I think, during the Peloponnesian Wars.
Yeah.
About a group of soldiers trying to get home. And Streets of Fire is basically based on the Trojan War.
Yeah, it's like
Wow,
he's
so
doing
there is a
fables and
connection.
poems. Like that's his whole deal with these pseudo dystopian futures yet very 80s movies that he's made. Like it's very fun.
They're based on ancient Greece, which is what they cook the fries in at Burger King.
When I break down Streets of Fire, if you go by that thing that it says there at the opening credits, a rock and roll fable.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I say, all right, yeah. If you look at the story, what happens? The dragon comes to town, kidnaps the princess. A knight goes and saves the princess. Dragon comes back to destroy the town. Knight fights the dragon. That's the story.
Yeah. It also has Rick Moranis in a very different role too.
Yep. And it's filled with neon lights shining on the wet pavement.
The wettest of streets.
Yes. By the way,
there's never been a city with more wet streets.
And it just rains long enough for them to kiss.
Yeah.
It's like this and Blade Runner have the same cities.
It's weird that it's called Streets of Fire, honestly.
Streets of Puddles.
I suppose I should do some self-aggrandizement here, that we covered it on my podcast Pop Art by combining it with The Professionals, which were both about women being kidnapped and a group of people going to rescue them.
We did it on the Forgotten Filmcast 10 years ago. It was episode 8 of the Forgotten Filmcast, and I really love it that I think 10 years ago I could have said this was a forgotten film, and I think in the 10 years that have passed, it has become a bit more known.
Yeah.
So
10 years ago.
God, no, I'm just saying, dude, you're so old that you're a movie that was forgotten was on a forgotten filmcast that is forgotten.
Yeah, exactly.
It was my
I'm kidding you around.
It was the first movie of the month that I won, and it was the second episode of the Lambcast that I was on, and I had to host. I was so nervous about doing it, but I was so happy that the film that I'd selected had been chosen by the rest of the community. I knew I was with the right people. Howard, it's your turn. What have you got for us on the second pick?
Well, now we get into foreign film territory. And my pick is The Fourth Man, which is Paul Verhoeven's last film before he left the Netherlands for the U.S., where, from my perspective, I expect to hear howls of people being upset when I say this, where he sacrificed artistic integrity for a paycheck. At any rate, the film is about a bisexual writer who has a relationship with a mysterious woman. However, he then seduces the woman's latest lover and then starts having visions that suggest the woman is a murderess and he may become her fourth victim. It's really a lot of fun. It's very erotic, not quite sexually explicit, but the next thing over. It was the biggest hit of any Dutch film in the U.S. and a huge success in its home country.
I saw a clip of when I was watching trailers from Hell. They did a episode on Basic Instinct, and during that commentary, the commentator mentioned that Basic Instinct is basically a remake of The Fourth Man. So I'm very curious to watch this movie.
I can see how he would say that. There's a lot of differences, but I can definitely see how he would say that.
I can understand not preferring his American work versus his international films, but I mean, I would, given how clear his sensibilities remain in his movies, especially something like RoboCop or Total Recall, I don't think he's looking at those being like, finally, I made some money. I think he's absolutely injecting his sensibilities into those films.
Actually, I think in an interview, he pretty much said he wanted the money.
Okay.
All right, cool.
I think everybody wants the money at some point
Don't
or other.
I mean,
Right.
It's a fun answer to say, but there's other ways to make money than spending that kind of energy.
All right, Aaron, I know you're going to struggle because 2 of the films that you wanted have been stolen from you.
Yeah, but not my number 2 pick, which is Stop Making Sense, which rules.
Excellent.
Oh, damn it. Oh. Shit,
Aaron's going for the music list here.
Jonathan Demme.
Yeah, I still have not seen that. I haven't seen 2 movies now. That's crazy.
Got to get on this because Jonathan Demme.
I really like Talking Heads. David Byrne is just.
Then there's no reason.
I'm a musician, so REM is probably my number 1, and then but he's up there.
It is unbelievable because Jonathan Demme directed like the best concert film of all time with Stop Making Sense. It's wonderful.
It's another one to watch.
It's one where I love how it starts so small, where you just have David Byrne walking into a room with a cassette player and he puts on Psycho Killer. And by the end of this thing, it's so expansive with so much life. There's all the bands on stage. There's the backup singers. There's dancing. The crowd is rarely seen in the movie, which I think is a wise choice, but you can tell the energy in the room is there in the Pantages Theater, like in Hollywood. It's such a wonderful display of like what the Talking Heads were doing at that time and like how creative a mind David Byrne is. The joy that just erupts from this thing, through the various songs played or what have you. It's wonderful to behold. I was so happy to see it get this kind of 4K restoration not too long ago and be put back into theaters for a little bit, and now it's even in some places it's airing on a monthly basis, not unlike like Rocky Horror or whatnot, because people just love watching and dancing along and singing the song. Like it's a fantastic concert film. The choices Demme's making here as far as how to like convey everything you want to see something like this is incredible. There's few that come close to like what this film is able to deliver.
Yeah, I know we recently covered this movie for Cinema Recall, and I mentioned that this movie is one of the best concert movies ever made. And like Jordan Cronenworth's cinematography is great. The way that David Byrne dances with that lamp and the way they put Leighton in this is just magnifique. It's a masterpiece. Great pick.
I'd say it is the best concert movie ever made, and I would actually say the second one, Vern, is going back to your Prince, because I'd say put Sign of the Times as the second one.
Sure. Oh, I have not seen Sign of the Times. I will put it on my list.
Well, The Last Waltz is sitting there too, folks, so let's not forget
I've seen Last Waltz, another great one.
It's on the list, but I mean, I like watching Stop Making Sense more.
I do too.
Understood.
Did you have people dancing in your aisles for Stop Making Sense?
When I saw it, no, because it was too crowded the time that I chose. But there's a theater near me called the Frida. That's like a New Beverly, but in Orange County, where they program their own screenings or what have you, and they do a monthly dance along for Stop Making Sense.
Oh, fun!
Yeah.
Do you have one of those oversized suits to wear when you go to the screenings?
I was wearing those before I saw Start Making Sense. It just really worked out for me.
All right, you ready, Damien? Round 2.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
You got it.
What do you mean, is that it? Yeah,
that's your pick. Okay.
Yeah. I can't believe we're only on 2. I thought we were almost done. No, just kidding.
All right, tell us why you pick a Nightmare on Elm Street.
Why not pick it? Tell you why, but I'm just surprised that you have to ask. I mean, well, first of all, I'm a horror guy. That's been where I've thrown my weight behind horror, and I've mostly done horror on my podcast for, over 10 years. I think I've seen everything. That's one genre I have seen everything. Anyway, I thought of a funny story, but I'm not going to tell it now. Okay, so I'm going to stay on track. I like it because of the finger knives. Is that enough?
That's a good enough reason.
I liked it.
Okay.
Did do everything,
Yeah, okay. I saw this movie, again, do you just do 1984 like once a year? Is that the deal? Or do you pick different years? Or
This is the first time we've done this one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's wonderful. Okay. Well, you were just saying that I'll have to confess, we talked about you, Todd. We talked about you a little, Todd.
It happens. It happens.
He predicted what you might be into, and I thought, it helped me kind of get my.
I was on Damien's show earlier this week, and we had a little bit of discussion about this upcoming show.
I don't think we talked about you on the show per se, so you're not getting any free advertising. No, just kidding. But no, the thing is, you just came up, and I miss you, Todd. Man, I got to get your podcast back on my rotation. Are you still doing it?
Oh, yeah. I was just on his show not too long ago.
Yeah,
I love all this Nightmare on Elm Street talk.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, well, you know what? Talking about the guy's voice, this is a movie that has so many great voices, Fred England's voice. Some people have nightmares. It puts me to sleep on a fantasy island when I hear his voice.
So it's the white noise that you play when you go to bed, so that you don't have a nightmare.
It's the lullaby he sings to
Fred England reading me like lullabies.
Robert England.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Robert England. There you go. I have one word right. So anyhow, 50%. That's what I got. Anyhow, it's so good. I'm new at this particular draft. I think I've done one with Lambcast, and I was equally bad at it. But I just think that this is such a classic. I guess I did fall a little bit into the whole silent majority thought, because I kind of thought that how can you even know that this decade, or even this decade for sure, but this year, without remembering Nancy on the frickin' ceiling, that scene is. Did I say her name wrong again?
It was Nancy. It was Tina.
Tina is on the ceiling.
Oh, right.
Nancy's on the phone.
You have a mind like an iron trap. I love that. The only problem is I'm old yeller and I get stuck in it sometimes. Anyhow, no, I had Vern on my show. We did Charlie's Angels. That was really cool. But anyway, hey, Vern.
Hello.
So you were saying talk about the movie more. Okay. Okay.
And at this point, I'm not saying it because we need to move on.
at the end of that movie is something, and I'm not going to do spoilers, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Like when little Girl Scouts will come to your door, it's like in that kind of a scene. You know what I'm hinting at?
Yeah.
And then there's like a little peephole kind of thing. That's the best scene. And it's the end scene. So anyways, I'm not good with anti-spoilers. Everybody knows that. But
I prefer Freddy when he's more scary in this one than he was in the sequels.
I'm just trying to think of anybody, how I would speak to an audience. I got my master's in the history of how we view the audience as important in rhetoric since Han Fai Tzu in China. So I know a lot about my audience, and I don't know what audience to speak to here. If I'm speaking to people who've never seen it, then I want to kind of shut up, and just say, go. And
go.
hopefully you believe in me enough to go. But most people have seen it, so I think we just bro out. We talk about what's cool in it, and Johnny Depp's in it, for God's sake. He's in my favorite. Yeah, go ahead.
I hate to cut you off, but we need to move on a little bit if we're going to finish in 2 hours. So I'm gonna. I will say I don't expect.
Can I throw in a story here?
Quick one.
Real quick. Yeah, I saw Nightmare on Elm Street at a sneak preview with Altered States, and I was going through a period where, in Nightmare on Elm Street, the conceit is they don't know when they're in a dream and when they're not. And I was going through a long period where I would think I had woke up, but then realized I wasn't awake. I was still dreaming, and there's a term for that. The additional problem is that I didn't realize it, but I had strep throat when I saw it. So I had a fever. So I freaked out over this movie. I just really freaked out. I love the movie, but it was quite an experience to see it with a fever. And when you're going through the experiences that the people on the screen are going through.
Rich, can I just give a quick response, and then I'll be quiet, I promise.
You get a 15-second response.
Okay, here we go. Listen. Same exact thing with Tusk. That was why I got so into Tusk all those years. I was sicker than a dog, and I was just popping Dayquils like crazy.
All right,
and
Kevin Smith appreciates the shout-out.
And then here comes in 2014 this movie that just freaking – I mean, you guys who know me, I mean, it was my favorite movie. Everywhere I went, I talked about it. So anyway, good one, Howard. Thank you.
Vern, let's get to you. It's your second pick.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Hi. This is a really tough one to pick. There's so many great movies that came out this year. I am gonna do this because I have to do it. It was the first time I saw this character on screen, and I just fell in love. This was great action adventure. I'm gonna do Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
All right.
This is the
very first time I ever saw Indiana Jones. This is before I even saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I just had so much fun, mainly because there was a kid, and I kind of, saw myself inside Short Round, Ke Kwan's, great role as the kid. I'm like, oh, it's great. Here's a kid. He's with this adventurer, and I know a lot of people call this the worst of the Indiana Jones franchise, but for me, it is one of my favorites. I mean, it starts with this lavish musical number, and then it's almost like a James Bond movie. I had no idea that Indiana Jones was an archaeologist. I mean, because the very first scene, he's got that white tux. I thought, oh, shoot, this could be like a James Bond movie. And then it becomes this chase film, and then they're on an airplane, and each section is a different great theme. It's almost like a serial, like one of those old 1930s serial type of adventures. And it just keeps going on and on. There's a great sequence when they're at the dining hall, and the mine cart race is one of the best in this. I just absolutely love it. It just goes at this fast pace, and it is one of my favorites. I had to pick this movie, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I could not.
I don't see any shame in picking it. I know it is often maligned, but I think that there are so many things in it that are great. Just like you pointed out, the minecart chase is fantastic, and it's done not with digitally. It's done with puppets, miniatures, back screen. It's wonderful, and it looks really good. It still holds up pretty well too.
And I like Kate Capshaw as Willie. I know a lot of people are annoyed by her, but she's playing this 1930s damsel, and she has just the mannerisms down. It's very much like a screwball comedy with her in there. I love the sequence where they're both want to bang each other, but they don't want to admit that they want to bang each other, and their dynamics they have is just absolutely great. I love that Ke Kwan and Harrison Ford have like this great chemistry with each other, and it was so heartwarming to see them hug each other when he won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, and that was really cool.
I'm huge on Temple of Doom. It used to be very easy for me to just say my ranking of Indiana Jones because it was 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, but still, it's very easy. One small story about Temple of Doom. I like Raiders is just amazing, but like Temple of Doom and Last Crusade, it's not like those aren't A movies either. I think they're brilliant. Temple of Doom and Last Crusade I used to have on a VHS tape. Mm-hmm. Like not like a purchase tape, but like taped off TV.
Yeah, me too.
For the longest time, my dad taped it wrong, where it must have been like a marathon, but like basically the tape stopped on Temple of Doom where Indiana Jones climbs up the bridge after like Walderrama's dead. It stops there, and then Glass Crusade starts when Indiana Jones is on the ship, so after all the River Phoenix stuff. So for the longest time, I thought Temple of Doom just like abruptly ended after the whole bridge climb. And then Glass Crusade starts with like Indiana Jones, I guess, is on a ship now. Like I never knew there was a whole prologue of young Indiana Jones for like years before I finally saw the whole movie. the fact that I love both movies still, I think, is a testament to how strong Spielberg was able to handle his initial trilogy of Indiana Jones movies.
Very much so. Good story.
Temple of Doom gets a bad rap, and I can't but get behind it. I get why people might have some problems here or there, but I think it's a fantastic movie.
Those people can eat monkey brains.
I was just going to say, we'll have to serve them something really disgusting. Todd, we're back to you, and you get 2 picks, remember, because you've got your second round and the third round.
This has not gone the way that I thought it would go. I mean, lots of things have been picked that I would pick, but further down the line, my second pick is still available, and I'm going to go with the same release day. I'm taking Gremlins.
God bless.
Okay. Damn it. Oh, good choice. Okay. Touche.
I mean, again, great mix of horror and comedy. I've always had a strong connection to Joe Dante's take on things. I think part of that comes from my love of classic Looney Tunes animation and such. I mean, Joe Dante, a lot of his movies, he's making live action cartoons. And this Gremlins is a great example of it. Gremlins 2 is even more an example of it. But I think one of the things I love so much about the original Gremlins is just it worked on me so much as just creeping me out as a kid. I mean, it seems a little strange to say now, but the Gremlins were scary. But then at the same time, you have those moments where like they're all watching and loving Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, so there's a certain charm to that. And I get Phoebe Cates on my list, so that's worth something too.
Very true. And I know the studios didn't want to cast Phoebe Cates because of her role in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. They didn't think that she would be family friendly in her persona, so they really had to fight to get her in that film.
Except for the fathers and the older sons, they'd be family friendly to them.
Yeah,
but not to everyone else.
They said that, and then Judge Reinhold made a face, and you're like, fine, we'll let her into the movie. The way I knew that I loved horror at an early age is because I completely got the Phoebe Cates Santa Claus story and thought it was hysterical, and I'm like, okay, this is my genre.
Yes, very true. Yes, great.
And see, that's the thing. I mean, Temple of Doom and Gremlins, the last 2 movies we've talked about here, are the 2 films most credited with creating PG-13 later that summer. And really, though, the biggest complaint that parents had about Gremlins was the Phoebe Cates story about her father.
Yeah, that's great.
Is that right? Wow.
I think Gremlins 2 is a superior sequel, but I will say that Gremlins is still a Christmas classic masterpiece.
Well, I may have said it before on one of these shows, and if I did, I'm sorry for repeating myself. Gremlins was my favorite movie from 1984, and it's the only film. It caused me to write the only fan letter that I ever wrote in my life, and I wrote it to Jerry Goldsmith because that music is terrific, and a
wonderful score. Yeah.
It is really good, and I just, I'm bummed.
It's a very ultimate Amblin kind of film as far as everything it's after, right? It's wholesome yet horrific. It's graphic yet funny. Like, it has everything that you kind of want out of an Amblin movie. And Poltergeist.
All right, Todd. Round 3.
This is still tough because a lot of things in my first bracket here are still there, and I don't know which one I want more because the others probably won't last. I'm gonna take The Karate Kid. Because as a 14-year-old in 1984, or 13-year-old, I guess I was in 84. This was. This was just a great, a teen movie. It was, something we just all cheered for. I mean, I want to say this was our Rocky, but Rocky was still our Rocky. But this was kind of the same type of thing because it was about a teenager. And this is a movie that just I've always really, really enjoyed. I think, Pat Morita is fantastic in this movie. It's a great, just an eye-opening performance for a kid that grew up knowing, oh yeah, that's Arnold from Happy Days. But yeah, and I did this one with Howard on his podcast many years ago. So yeah, I love The Karate Kid.
What was it paired with?
Let the Right One In.
Of course.
We were doing.
What was the theme on this one?
We were doing films about bullies.
Oh, okay.
Fair enough.
That's really good. I like that a lot.
It was a great pair up, and I had not seen Let the Right One In before we did that podcast, and it was just it was really cool just to see the connections that the two films do have.
What I like about Karate Kid in the realm of like teen 80s movies, I think it's so very earnest and very well performed that it kind of outweighs other teen 80s movies where I absolutely love the journey that Machio goes on, because by the end of this thing, when he gets to the tournament, he's this underdog, but it's like you've spent so much time with these two, with Morita and Machio, and you're absolutely behind him at that point. There's no like, regardless of how over the top some of the karate tournament stuff might be, I'm at the film has done the work to put me on board with, I want to see this kid win. I want to see him, show everybody up as far as these bullies that have been torturing him really for no reason. It really earns the kind of the competition ending that it aims for.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think even if he didn't win, which ultimately he has to win in this, because if he didn't, then there would be too much of a comparison to Rocky, I think. It's the same director, for crying out loud. But for me, the strongest thing about the movie is the friendship between the old man and the teenage boy. One of my favorite scenes in this film is the scene where Miyagi is drunk and is remembering his wife and child that died in childbirth in a what's the right word I'm looking for? Concentration camp. They were Japanese internment camp.
Yes.
And it's a heavy moment for what is ultimately a teen-centered film. There's so many layers to the movie. I love it.
Good pick.
Todd is showing us no mercy this week.
Nice.
Strike first, strike hard.
Vern, we're back to you.
Oh, back to me. All right, let me bring up my list here. All right, so my number 3rd pick. Do I want to go with a fan favorite or one of my favorites, or maybe both? And I'm gonna do both. I'm gonna do the original Beverly Hills Cop. Eddie Murphy was at one of the peaks in his careers after 48 Hours and his stints on Saturday Night Live. This is just a start vehicle. It's a great movie. Still holds up today. I watched not too long ago because of the new Axel F movie that's on Netflix now. And I think it's just absolutely great. It's a great mixture of comedy and action. Great songs from the Pointer Sisters and Glenn Fry. And just great movie. I love it. I love his comedy antics in this. I had to pick it. It's one of my faves. I watched it a bunch of times. I love the sequels as well. I'm a big defender of number 2. I like the fact that each director had their own different take on doing this. I think even like John Landis did the 3rd one as well, but this was Martin Brest, the first one. And even though Martin Brest didn't have much of a career, he did.
What are you talking about? Midnight Run. Come on.
Midnight Run. Okay, that was.
He has a great first half of his career.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
the man could make no other movie but Midnight Run, and I'd say he had a great career.
That's fair. I forgot about Midnight Run.
But he did make more than Midnight Run, and so he has a career that we can talk about.
And Beverly Hills Cop is great. I can't argue with this pick at all. I think it's one of the best, when you think about action comedies, I think this is one of the best examples of that to this day. And the new one is good. I like it.
It's better than the other sequels.
No,
it is indeed.
It's up there. I still like number 2 very much as well. So
2 certainly has
tie with number 2.
2 has plenty of style. Like when you hold a screenshot of 2.
It's a Tony Scott.
When you hold Tony Scott next to John Landis, you're like, oh, so one of these is a real movie. But no, Beverly Hills Cop. Vern just taking all the black picks. I'm kidding. I didn't have this on my list. There's for all the talking Eddie Murphy does, that's hysterical. There's a bit after the whole hotel ordeal where the manager comes over and he offers him a discounted rate for the room, and Eddie Murphy just stops and gives a look that's a good 4-second pause, and it's the funniest thing, where he's just making sure he's won this room that he's scammed off the hotel, and it's great. It's just so Murphy is so perfect in this thing, a movie that the 12th choice, and he comes in and he just crushes this thing and becomes a movie star forever. No matter how many bombs he does later on in his career, he has this among a few other things, but this is just this became the biggest R-rated movie ever for a good long while. R-rated comedy, certainly, for a long while, and for good reason. It holds up easily today. It's so much fun to watch. Martin Brest absolutely deserves a lot of credit, more than he's given, because Eddie Murphy gets so much credit, which he deservedly does too. But Beverly Hills Cop really is just a fantastic. I was so happy to rewatch it recently when Axel F came along as well, and it's so great.
Not only is he great, but he's also great with the other actors in this. Judge Reinhold and the older
John
Ashton, and then the other guy who's in RoboCop that I can't remember his
Ronnie
name
Cox.
right now. Ronnie Cox, yeah. I like the family unit they have with that. I wish Jenny appeared in the new movie. I want to know what happened to Jenny. I don't know what happened to her.
Oh my gosh, great film. That's all I really have to say. It's just amazing. I think growing up in California by LA and taking, occasional trips into LA and Beverly Hills area, it was just kind of mythical to me, to see those streets and, places they would go. And, I don't know, honestly, if young people would really get that. But for me, it was like going to this place that I'd kind of seen sometimes, and, sort of, if you're going to go to a concert, then you're going to go to LA, but usually I grew up in the suburbs. So for me, it was like, oh, this is a cool movie because I get to go to LA, well, it's Beverly Hills, I should say, but, that general area.
Well, to me, the character won me over the second he did the double take at the costumes that weren't costumes. They were street clothes that people were wearing, and he could hardly believe it. Yeah.
Which looks like him in Raw.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Very true.
All right, Damien, did you fall for the banana in the tailpipe, or you got something else for us? Your choice.
This is Spinal Tap.
No, Spinal Tap's already been taken.
First pick.
Oh, see, I'm new to these.
That's okay.
See, I didn't know. Okay. All right, well, let me keep going down then. I should have got 10 then. Okay, hold on. Yeah. Oh, you guys don't have this one yet. Amadeus.
Son of a biscuit. God bless America. I was counting on people just skipping over that.
Okay. Well,
okay.
You're so kind. You noticed that I like music. Now, this is just the music film of all music films for creatives, I think. For people who are creatives who are a little bit tortured with their songs and stuff like that. You always hear about people that, Prince, he was like a little eccentric. You could just go on and on. Every musician. I think John Lennon had his shit together, but most of the time they don't have their shit together. And Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, that's what it's about. It's a biopic, I guess, but it's comedy, drama, little love, romance, spiciness in there. The girl's really cute, and just blew me away. And then you've got Salieri, his nemesis. I mean, it's so weird when just being on this show at all. I need to do more of them because I just don't. I feel like that's it. What more do I need to say? It's just, you just get so pulled into it. That's what I wanted to say. You get pulled into it.
It won Best Picture for a reason. It's and I remember watching this back as a teenager and being like, wow, opera's cool.
Yeah.
And seriously, some of my favorite moments of that movie are the opera scenes. They're so captivating. But ultimately, F. Murray Abraham and Tom Hulce, great performances there. So
it inspired Thalco's "Rock Me Amadeus," or maybe "Rock Me Amadeus" inspired this movie? I don't know, because I remember hearing that song "Rock Me Amadeus" and then seeing ads for Amadeus, and I really thought "Rock Me Amadeus" was going to be on the soundtrack. So I remember watching the movie thinking, when the hell are they going to play "Rock Me Amadeus"? And they never played "Rock Me Amadeus." I felt robbed. I'm like, wait a minute here.
and it's known.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's known that Milos Forman was a famous Falco fan too, so it is surprising.
Yeah.
Okay, F. Murray Abraham in this is like his same self, as he always is, but he's so good in this. I don't know. I'd have to like look at a timeline. Todd or one of you guys, Rich, you could probably tell me like if this was his breakout.
He was in other films. He was in other films, but this was clearly a breakout film
point.
for him.
Yeah, he wasn't a name until this. Yeah.
Well, I just want to throw it out there for people because a lot of people in my orbit don't know this, but he's in a movie that's a Marvel movie. It's called Moon Knight, and that's Knight with a K, Moon Knight, and it's a Marvel adaptation, I guess. I'm not really into Marvel. My son
it's
is,
one of their shows.
But he plays sort of like a quasi evil guy at the beginning, and then you find out he's a total bro with the protagonist. But my goodness, if you've been missing that guy's voice, watch Moon Knight on Disney. I just wanted to plug that real quick because it's one of the best things I've seen probably in the last like 2-3 years.
I love the fact that they made references to Amadeus in Last Action Hero. And F. Murray Abraham is in Last Action Hero. So
that's right.
Oh, how funny.
Playing a corrupt cop because he's the bad guy.
All right, I'm going to lay it down here for everybody. Amadeus is the best movie of the 1980s. Period. Ooh. Anybody who wants to challenge that, you can fight me on this because this movie is so freaking awesome. I waited because I thought people would skip over it, and now I hate myself. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I finally caved a few years ago and listed my 10 favorite films, and this is number 7 on my list. I think this movie is fantastic, and you're right. It makes opera seem exciting and interesting. And listening to when I was a kid, I took piano lessons for a couple of years. Couldn't play a note to save my life. I was terrible at it. But I appreciated classical music a little bit. This is the kind of thing that brought me back into that world and made me love listening to classical music.
The harpsichord.
Oh, it's just so fantastic. And Tom Hulce and F. Murray Abraham are legendary in this picture. So, Damien, you got a good one, and you're working on getting a vote from me even against my own slate of films.
I don't think it'll win. I hate to tell you, I don't think it'll win. But if it does, you and I'll party.
All right.
There you go.
All right, Aaron, you got to look for a musical film. So you got Breakin'?
I have Top Secret.
Top Secret. Yes.
Okay.
Come on.
One that I figured Todd would have picked by now, and he didn't, so he's a sucker.
I was waiting for, I was trusting everyone else to be ignoring it, so my bad.
But it was a backup, and I still got it. I'm very happy I got it because I already talked about this is Spinal Tap having an amazing joke to minute ratio. Top Secret's no different. This movie is hysterical, but it still fits in my music wheelhouse that I've been doing well because you have Val Kilmer as Nick Rivers, an American rock star who's traveled to East Germany, of course, based on his hit song Skeet Surfing. This is just Zaz brilliance. Zaz being, of course, the Zuckers and Jim Abrams. The creativity of the gags in this one, I think, surpasses Airplane. Like, I think Airplane is one of the best comedies ever made, and it's like hard to like say Top Secret doesn't join it because it's so just wonderfully brilliant in how like ridiculous and loopy it all is with the number of just non sequiturs and things you would never expect coming. I know this clip posts on the internet a lot these days, but there's this whole underwater barroom brawl that is not only hysterical, but like looks insanely complicated to like put together. And so the fact that all of this effort went into having multiple actors being underwater for a sustained fight sequence that involves separate gags where you're like throwing chairs and like throwing people across bar rooms and going outdoors, and like the fact that all of that for like a 30-second sequence, and that's just a small piece of the larger film, is incredible. There's so many great gags here. There's a whole bit with what's his face, Peter Cushing, as a bookstore owner, who like he has a magnifying glass in his eyes and makes his eye look big, and then you realize, oh no, his eye's just actually that big. That's the fact this is Val Kilmer's
Hey, they save
first
money.
movie.
They save money on props. They don't have to buy a magnifying glass. It could just be a fake magnifying glass because his eyes are just big.
Yeah, Val Kilmer, his first time out, and he is entirely on like what he needs to be here to do what he needs to do. He's so funny. This whole cast is great. Like, this movie rules.
I forgot this is his first movie. That's amazing. I had no idea that this was his first movie. I thought he did something before that. That's great.
Yeah.
I do agree.
It's a great example. Go ahead, Howard.
Oh, I was going to say that I do agree that the jokes and these cliches that they skewer, I always thought they did it better than in Airplane. Airplane is still the funnier and better movie, but I always thought Top Secret sometimes surpasses Airplane in its cleverness.
Yeah, it feels like it's like a Holy Grail Life of Brian thing, where I think Holy Grail is the better, more funnier movie to me. The Life of Brian does feel like the more accomplished piece of work as far as what they're like aiming for.
I can see that.
Top Secret, it's like one of the best examples of where some filmmakers had a hit and the studios threw a bunch of money and said, do what you want, and they did what they want. And I think it went over a lot of people's heads in '84 because the movie was not a hit.
It was not huge. And like Airplane set such a high bar, so yes, it doesn't like match up in that regard as far as commercial.
The Val on Prime. I was going to say it twice.
I think Top Secret
on Prime.
Top Secret digs deeper when it comes to the the things that maybe are only gonna gel with the people that watch a lot, and I mean a lot of movies like we do, because Airplane just, I don't know, it was a bit more, I guess it was hitting on that disaster movie genre that had been so popular just a few years before, and that Top Secret really digs deep, and I really appreciate that about it.
Somewhere in the closet, I think I still have my McDonald's Happy Meal toy, the anal extruder.
I like how you said somewhere, like you don't know exactly where it is.
Howard, you're up.
Oh, my next is Broadway Danny Rose.
Ooh, great movie.
Good point.
It's one of the many films Woody Allen made with Mia Farrow, and it's probably the best performance Farrow gave in an Allen film. Allen plays an agent who takes on clients no one else wants and are pretty much unemployable. He has a heart of gold and works hard. However, he is so trusting that he doesn't sign contracts with his clients. This means that when he does happen on someone who does manage to break through, they leave him and go with someone else. This time he takes up this time around he takes on a washed-up lounge singer whose career is suddenly bouncing back. And Allen falls in love with the singer's mistress, played by Mia Farrow. And then there's also Mia Farrow's ex as a gangster, wants her back. This is one of my favorite scenes in an Allen film where Woody and Mia take cover from gangsters in the warehouse that are storing the Macy Thanksgiving Day floats. And when one of the balloons is shot, everybody's voice goes falsetto from the escaping gas. It's unabashedly sentimental and a lovely film. It's one of my top Woody Allen films.
It's got great black and white cinematography too, which I really liked.
Yes, it's beautiful to look at.
I just put it on my list. Have you ever seen The Curse of the Jade Scorpion?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's one of those weird ones that I really like. But, hey, I want to ask you a question, though, Howard, because you're so comfortable with Woody Allen. Whenever I just love the guy. I listened to a biography on National Public Radio. I used to deliver pizzas, like in my 20s, and I used to listen to National Public Radio, and there was one where they talked about him. And did you know that he was like a champion boxer in college?
Oh. No, I had no idea.
He was, and he was actually a really tough guy that made it kind of on his own bootstraps. But because of what's gone down, I don't usually like to drop his name, you know? But anyway, I
Oh,
was
I
just
have no
curious, like,
problem.
really?
I have
Okay.
no problem championing Alan even today.
I'm there
So-
with you, Howard.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, then. I'm going to take that. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I just watched one recently, and it still is a very fun movie. Broadway Danny Rose. Yeah, very.
I
the
haven't
chemistry
seen
he
it.
has.
I'm going to watch it. I got
It's
like a
good.
huge list already now.
It's
I got
on
like 4
Tubi, I
songs.
think.
This
Cool.
was
I'll check it out.
this was the first film I wrote about on my 30 Years On blog, which I did a decade ago, which was about the movies of 1984, and it was one that I actually watched on YouTube. At the time, it was 9 different video clips that you had to string together.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I'm sure I could find it much more easily, but at the time, that was the option that I had. I also like the conceit that it's a story being told by a bunch of agents sitting around a delicatessen eating food and sharing war stories with each other. And the number of times that I sat in a magic shop listening to magicians telling stories just like this about some guy who wasn't there is ridiculous. Because when I was a kid, my dad would hang out at some of those places, and that's what they all did. They all talked about people that they knew, what was going on in the world, and this felt so familiar that it was just ridiculous. And of course, Woody Allen, this is a brilliant conceit, and I like the fact that he's the beard for his own client. That was pretty funny.
What Alan's really good at, he's good at like doing overlapping dialogue. So whenever like there's scenes of people talking, these are all like scripted dialogue. People are actually reading words from the script, but they're overlapping with each other in the way that Alan constructs scenes where people are talking on top of each other, but you can still understand what they're saying is just brilliant.
He has like a playwright's mind, as opposed to like Altman's more of an improvisation, because that's the other one you think of when you think of overlapping dialogue.
Yeah.
Like Alan's stuff is very precise, regardless of how it's approached in delivery. I've never like ranked Alan's. Like I know which ones I like the most, but I've never like done an official ranking of his movies. But like looking at his periods, I think the 80s is certainly his most experimental.
Yeah.
Like it's a good run too. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. It's an amazing run. But like obviously like the 70s has his big classics, Annie Hall, Manhattan, what have you. But like the 80s is he's making a lot of really interesting and choices that just between something like Broadway Day Rose or Purple Rose of Cairo. Like there's just there's a lot of experimentation he's doing that I really admire about that run of films that he had.
Yeah, although what I did before that, Z-League had a lot of experimentation with Z-League.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's also
great. Yeah.
fake documentary.
Well, I mean,
see, okay, if I was going to do a series, if I was going to say, because I could easily do a series on this guy and all his movies, but don't you think that there'd be a little tarnishing on it? I mean, since we're all
podcasters. You guys do what you want to do. I mean, are you making shows for an audience for yourself? But that's a different topic right there.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I just advised Rich about in the beginning. I said, go with your gut. But yeah, honestly, I don't use my favorite quote of all time is 80% of success is showing up, and it's by Woody Allen. But when I write it on the board, I never put his name because I feel like, there's too much bullshit out there about his name,
If you're trying to teach like 20-year-olds, yes, there's going to be a consenting opinion that's based around things that I don't think are quite fair. But that's a whole different.
And I work at a community college, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
another reason that I'm glad I'm out, because saying anything threatens to open a can of worms every time you open your mouth. Holy criminy, the world is a dangerous place to speak. But I don't want this to be a dangerous place to speak, so I'm all for Danny Rose. There you go.
Me too.
All right, my next pick, I can't wait on it any longer because I know it won't be around if I let it go. I'm going to take the Terminator.
I thought so.
Oh,
the Terminator is just such an incredibly innovative film. It's so fantastic. By the way, I prefer Terminator to Terminator 2.
What?
Oh, absolutely.
What?
They're both 5-star movies.
It's good. I did.
Rich, I do too.
I know Terminator 2 is full of fantastic stuff. I just saw it on the big screen 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it is a spectacular film. But the Terminator, the original film, has so many things in it. This is our first time getting Arnold in this situation. The visual effects are so. I love stop motion in movies. That's just something that I just really dig on, and that sequence at the end when the Terminator comes out of the fire and it's lost all of its human body parts and it's just the metal machine coming after her. Holy criminy, is that awesome. And it's a mixture of puppetry and the stop motion that makes that sequence work so well. The story is incredibly clever. It's, of course, set up 100 sequels, it seems like, since then, because of the time travel element on it. I don't want to get too caught up in it, but it made you think about it. This came out at Halloween in 1984. It was just spectacular. I have great memories of seeing it. It's a terrific movie, and the music is also really good. So I heard Aaron humming along there earlier. I didn't want to ignore it completely.
It's the best slasher movie of 1984.
Oh, good call. Yeah, didn't think about that.
I love both first Terminators equally. Like I give an edge to 2 just based on my own, like I grew up on 2.
Yeah.
But 1 is what I love about the distinguishment between them is that 2 is obviously this, grandiose action adventure maximalist epic, where 2 is this intimate sci-fi horror movie that happens to have a sci-fi component to it, and it's really great for that reason, among other reasons. I think across the board, which includes Arnold, the acting is really solid. Hamilton and Michael Biehn are great. They're great together. I know there's not a reason for Biehn to be in the second one, but like him not being in it, I mean, it's like you lose a little something there. Arnold, though, there'll never be enough credit given to like how good Arnold is at doing certain things. I honestly believe that.
Especially that movie.
Yeah, I don't think he becomes a movie star by accident. I don't think it's because he looks a certain way that's what made him. He is making very specific choices that I do think enhance what otherwise could have just been generic robot villain character. And I think he's absolutely a key factor in the success of this movie.
I agree with Rich. I just want to say, because I know I'm taking a lot of the talk time, I apologize. But I just want to say that this movie I prefer it to T2 as well. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't know if I prefer it to T2, but I still think this is like legitimate, great, scary action. It's beautiful shot. It's the sequence in the police station is great.
T2 takes you to a building. T1 takes you to like a community, It takes you into the community. That's why I like it.
Fair enough.
Interesting way of thinking about it. All right, and for my wraparound pick, I'm going to piss off Todd. I'm going to take the Muppets Take Manhattan.
That was my pick, you bastard. I want to get one up on Todd. Damn it. No.
I was expecting Vern to take it. I wasn't expecting Richard to take it.
Oh. Go ahead, Richard.
Look, I was 26 years old in 1984, and I had no kids, but that was still the movie that I had the strongest desire to see that year. I was a Muppet fan from way back. I've always tried to keep them alive in spirit, buying videos, taking my kids to see the movies, buying toys, that sort of thing. Next to the original Muppet movie, this one is my favorite. I love the backstage musical aspect of it, and frankly, I'm afraid I identify too much with Kermit and Piggy as they're going through their romance and getting married. It just feels so great to me, and watching all those characters interact, and we get guest star appearances like we had before, but not the same way. It's still fun to have all those sorts of things. It just was it was a nice moment in time that I remember so well. And if I ever am asked to pick a Muppet movie to watch, if it's not the Muppet movie, the original, it's going to be this one for me.
What I love best about this movie, Richard, is that the Muppets are playing original characters. There's no like meta commentary or meta comedy in this one. It is just a straight story about these college kids who want to put together a play, and they have to get separated in order to do that. And I'm sorry, that song they sing of when they're going away.
Saying goodbye. Yeah.
Tears just on my face right there, just tears with that. Also, I have tears going on when Piggy and Kermit are getting married.
Somebody's getting married.
She'll make me happy
Yep.
now and forever. Oh gosh, I mean, if someone doesn't put that as their wedding song, they should, because it's beautiful and I love it. It is one of my favorite ones. The Muppet Baby sequence. The sequence where they're doing the whole song there with their Muppet Babies. Oh my gosh, just great songs. Is wonderful. Great comedy. Yeah, I like the sequence when Kermit gets amnesia in there as well. Oh god! And this is like Frank Oz's debut feature. This is the first movie he actually made. He was a puppeteer, worked with the Muppets for years, but this is the first movie he directed. Just great.
He co-directed Dark Crystal, but yeah, this is his first solo directing gig, and I love that he gives a cameo to John Landis in this film, who gives Frank Oz cameos in a lot of his movies. So I love that payback. I love The Muppets Take Manhattan. It is actually not one of my favorites when it comes to the Muppet movies, but I mean, I don't speak ill of really the Oh yeah, come on now.
And if anybody doesn't know this, Todd is a puppeteer.
Well, and that's the thing.
Not everybody knows that. So
Muppets Take Manhattan has a lot of just great things that push the envelope when it comes to the puppetry. I mean, as someone that is involved in that art form, I love seeing when Henson and his crew do that. The scene with the rats in the kitchen is wonderful. But yeah,
preceding Ratatouille by 20 years.
Yeah, this one does make me cry more than any of the other Muppet movies. Between the wedding scene, which I'm pretty sure I posted that on my Facebook. The day my daughter got married, I think I posted that scene on my Facebook. But yeah, the saying goodbye song, I can't hold it together in that scene. I always say they should play that scene at my wedding, at my funeral.
Especially the moment when Fozzie sings it, and they're gonna laugh, gonna cry, saying goodbye. Oh yeah, just lose it right there.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this in the longest of times, so I didn't really consider it, even though I'm trying to aim for like a musical sort of theme with my list. But it's certainly been one that I've been wanting to revisit for a while now.
I believe it's on Tubi, because it's not a Disney property. No, it's not. It's not Disney, because it's not made by Disney. Disney does not have it on this network. It was their Columbia Pictures release.
TriStar. I think TriStar.
TriStar Columbia. Yeah, TriStar.
It's on Prime.
Two timing.
It's even easier.
There you go.
Howard, is the next movie you're going to pick something that we can find on Prime or on Tubi?
Oh, did you do 2 films?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I was listening. I just
I did Terminator, and then I did The Muppets Take Manhattan.
That's right, you did. You did. It's all coming back to me now. So my next one is I'm getting really arty now, and it's Love Streams, which is John Cassavetes' penultimate film and one of his finest. Has all the hallmarks of a Cassavetes film, from writing to directing. It stars himself and Gina Rowlands. However,
is that
in the movie
one
they
word
play
or
brother.
2 words?
2 words.
Two words, I believe.
Okay.
However, in the movie they play brother and sister, and Rowland's character is a woman who has gone through divorce and runs off to her brother's remote house to recover her equilibrium. The brother is a hedonistic author who's also having issues with his new girlfriend, and together they support each other as they try to come to terms with love and relationships. I love this film. I thought it was beautiful. It was very moving, and the ending was very powerful to me.
And who distributed Love Streams? Canon Films. Canon Films.
Oh my God.
I was rewatching the Electric Boogaloo documentary a few days ago, and they talked about this, and I think like Menachem Golan's talking about, I've got Cassavetes making a movie, and he turns it in, and it's an hour and 20 minutes, and I said, you need to cut 15 minutes from the film, and then I'll release it. Comes back a day later, and it's an hour and 2 hours and 40 minutes. So he added time to the movie.
Well, I've never seen it, so it's another.
I haven't either.
This
I'm
is
gonna
one
see
to
it
put
though.
on the list. There you go. Aaron.
Repo Man.
Awesome.
Yeah, it rules. Spoilers, every film that I list is going to rule. Like, that's how it goes.
Everything any of us say is going to rule. That's what I say.
Yeah, Repo Man, I am younger than most of the panel, so like I didn't grow up.
How dare you?
I didn't grow up in the 80s to see most of these early, at least in the early 80s to like see most of these films first run. So like a lot of these, especially these ones that we're listing, which are a large number of cult films, which I'm cool with that. I just wasn't catching up with them until they're actually made available, because not only are they not.
Can I just say one thing real quick? As somebody, I told you I was 14. It's not so much that we're picking cult films. It's just that that's what was popular in '84. I mean, it was just the look of a cult film was, I think, much more acceptable than other decades. Anyway, that's my little 2 cents. Sorry.
Fair enough, but I mean, most of the films are, bombs that we're listing, like as far as like commercial appeal. And
that's
Repo
true.
Man,
At first, they were, yeah.
And Repo Man very much falls in that category. It's the kind of film where, much like Buckaroo Banzai, for example, it has its own flavor of weird going for it. And if you're on board, you're on board. But if you're not, you're going to feel left out in the cold. I think that works to the theme of this film's advantage, because it is about this guy, Emilio Estevez, who maybe never better in this movie. He's this punk that, already like sits outside the man and what have you. And yet he gets wrapped up in this whole Repo Man business with Harry Dean Stanton in a rare leading role. I mean, like and it's hard to like just like summarize what this thing is exactly, but it has this sort of look at consumerism and like the Reagan 80s or what have you, combined with, strangely, the atomic age. Like, for some reason, Alex Cox was like, I have this fun story about a Repo Man and this punk that we're roll around together. What if I threw Kiss Me Deadly in as a fun, like, addition to all of this?
I like that.
It's really fun. Like, it's this, I guess, sci-fi dark comedy thing. It has a kick-ass punk rock soundtrack, including, like, Iggy Pop, of course, because why wouldn't he be involved in this? And it functions entirely on its own groove, and I totally dig it.
And it's got a Criterion release.
It has a 4K Criterion release. I mean, the Criterion's very, very happy with Alex Cox. They have Sid and Nancy on there also. Like, yeah, he very much, even if I'm not like a huge fan of all of his movies, he's very much a one-of-a-kind filmmaker.
Definitely.
Well, we don't want to ignore the great Tracy Walter either, who has this probably, next to his part as Bob the Goon, this is his biggest part in a movie. He was just terrific, spouting those strangest things, doing just nothing except being in the background and making the movie weird. And again, I've been diving into 1984 because there are a whole bunch of theater chains in the area that have been doing retrospectives on this. I saw this movie on the big screen 2 weeks ago, and it holds up so well. Everybody's laughing their asses off. There's so much that's so funny about it, and it makes me want to go do some crimes, like get sushi and not pay.
I hate to keep bringing up the age gap, but like, what was the average age, Rich, in there?
Of
the viewers, like, what was their average age? If they're laughing, I'm just wondering,
at the
they
movie,
older? Are they younger?
I would say at the theater it was probably more than half of the audience was 50 or older.
Okay.
So, but there were a lot of people who were younger there also, and there were people who were seeing it for the first time. But there were a lot of people who were seeing it again and again. And this is the ultimate punk movie. If there's a movie that kind of tries to get the punk aesthetic from the 80s, this is it.
Absolutely.
Well, Joseph Campbell talks about the mythical hero. He often cites Luke Skywalker, but there's mythical heroes that we latch onto as generations. And he also says, and this PBS thing I saw about him was amazing, but he just said that we live in a time of technology where things are changing so much that we don't have too many myths anymore that everybody can buy into. And when I think of Repo Man, it's definitely rooted in the Reagan years, like I think Aaron was alluded to that. It's definitely rooted in the Reagan years, but I always just wonder, like, people growing up nowadays, they've got like, instead of 13 channels, they have like 4,000 channels on the internet, you know? So I just wonder like how much they would relate with it and on what level would they relate with it.
They probably won't understand the joke about all the generic products because that doesn't
the
exist
beer,
the same way. Yeah. Or the can that just is marked food.
I think set up in a proper context is a way to make this movie work for a lot of audiences, because I do think it has a general sort of appeal, which is weird because it's such a weird movie, but it has a very, I don't know, likable quality to it because of how like oddball it gets and the kinds of attitudes the different characters have, and they feel distinctive. They don't feel like just, you know, four versions of the same guy. Like there's just something, there's a quality there, and I think that reflects in the way various filmmakers have used this film as inspiration, whether it's Tarantino or Richard Kelly. Like there's people that clearly grew up on movies like this and other of the cult properties we've mentioned in this year, let alone other years from the 80s, that certainly reflect an enjoyment for these kind of weirder offbeat movies that we're talking about.
And I think younger people too, when they see older movies like this, they know that's set in a different time, and it's almost like a different universe. And I still think that younger people can watch Repo Man and just see it as an era of that time, and they can put their own views into it or whatnot there. I will say this, though. The ultimate punk movies was, ladies and gentlemen, we present the Fabulous Stains and Smithereens as like the ultimate like 80s punk narrative features.
That's fair, along with like, I don't know, Suburbia. Like,
all right,
I got Smithereens. Yeah.
I'd fight you about Amadeus, but I won't fight you about that.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right, Damien, your next film.
Okay. It is.
Well, you've got two more choices, and we need one today.
I know. Police Academy.
There you are.
Oh, good one.
Police
Academy. I just watched it not so long ago. I just watched it literally like last week. I watched this one.
Definitely a movie.
I love Police Academy. Well, something that I commonly refer to when I'm teaching students to be more assertive, because I teach, writing, so I want them to be more assertive, is when this little tiny little black woman is like, got this voice like this, and then in the very end, she's like, "Put your hands up, sucker!" So it all worked. You guys remember that part?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Use the police voice. Yes, I do that all the time.
That's great. And then, of course, the podium scenes are neat. But that was for you, Vern. No, just kidding.
I knew about that. It was great.
Yeah, Vern just saw this movie. He probably saw it more recently than any of us. What did you think?
Yeah, I just literally watched this like last week, and I haven't seen it in years. And a lot of it still holds up. A lot of it not so much, but it still is a very funny movie. I've seen Police Academy 5 more times than I've seen the other ones because I was a kid when that came out, and I enjoyed that one a lot. Same thing with like number 2. The franchise kind of went downhill a little bit too, but I still kind of love it.
I get the feeling there's no love from Aaron for this.
I have not seen any others.
Here's the thing. I wholeheartedly admit the Police Academy movies are not good movies. But do I love the Police Academy movies? Yes, I do. Because, I watched them endlessly on cable when I was a kid. It was a ritual. Like every March, from 1984 on, a new Police Academy movie came out, and we went to the theater to see those things. And, so they have a special place in my heart. I have the set of all the movies, and but 4 is my favorite because it's got a balloon chase. So
of all the films we've remade and rebooted and whatnot, I'm the most surprised that there hasn't been a new Police Academy.
Me too.
That's true,
and
yeah.
That's kind of like my answer to that question of do you want to, if there was an 84 movie you'd do a reboot of, it's Police Academy.
I'd say no because I wouldn't want more of this. I'm just saying.
I was supposed to Police Academy movies. This one, you got Steve Guttenberg, you got Kim Cattrall, Michael Winslow. When I saw Michael Winslow in Spaceballs, I was like, holy shit, that's the guy who did the voices in Police Academy, and just great. I love the guy who keeps breaking stuff and falling over, and the accident-prone guy. It's got all these great characters in there. Yeah, it's fun.
Speaking of putting a light on characters, Steve Guttenberg occupies such a different space in Cocoon. He's so I'm going to lead everybody to understanding, you know. But in this, he's just like looking for the girl with the, you know what I'm saying? He's just getting around the block in this one.
He doesn't want to be there. He's the guy that's trying to get out of it, and then
that's true. That's true. But he's nothing like the Cocoon character. I just love it. That's a sign of a good actor to me. Sure. I mean, to anybody, you know, when you can just like go into Cocoon and you just absorb the guy, and then you go into this one and it's just kind of like, it's like he's your you know, a Joker that's taking you around on a tour. That's how he is, and he's good in this.
I think Gutenberg's actually a better actor than he gets credit for, but because of all the Police Academy sequels, he got a bad reputation.
I haven't seen one of them. I haven't seen any of them.
He was in Short Circuit. All right, Steve Gutenberg was great in Short Circuit.
I think it's because of his other movies that he has a bad reputation of being a bad actor. It's because of his acting. That's
You mean like Diner and Cocoon?
Diner is fine. Everyone's fine in Diner because that's like, hey, we're all kids, aren't we? Fun.
Good.
Yeah, Diner's a different story.
I saw him in his debut film not too long ago, The Boys from Brazil, and you know he's pretty good in that.
He runs around and makes faces.
Yes, he does do that a little bit. All right, Vern, what do you got for us next?
All right, well, my next pick, I'm going to be doing an underrated film in a director's filmography. I'm going to be doing John Carpenter's Starman.
That's underrated?
Oh, yeah, that's such
underrated.
A good movie.
What are you talking about?
Okay, well, let me say this, though. It's underrated in the realm of, like, you know, a lot of people know John Carpenter for just doing Halloween and They Live and Escape from New York. This was his very first sort of, like, family drama. I mean, it was rated PG. It's very different from his other movies he made before. And I say underrated as the fact that most people don't put this on John Carpenter's best list. You know, they're going to put, you know, The Thing, or like I said before, Escape from New York, or Halloween. They're going to do those films first.
I understand the logic of what you're saying. I'm speaking for myself. I personally say it's one of his best movies. But yeah, go on.
I love Starman, and I think that Jeff Bridges, he was nominated for Academy Award. And the story, it involves this woman who recently lost her husband, and this alien creature takes the form of her husband and, you know, basically forces her to, you know, drive him to this place, and then they are fighting, but they develop a relationship with each other, and their chemistry is just really, really great. I think this and like E.T. were made close to each other. I know people put E.T. on a higher pedestal. I love E.T., but I love Starman just a little bit more than E.T. I'm not trying to dismiss E.T. I think E.T. is great, but Starman for me is just really great. It's got the great soundtrack from Jack Nietzsche in this, and it's great. Yeah, just can't say anything more great about Starman, but it's beautiful. I showed this to friends for the first time, and they got caught up in it, and I completely forgot that this is a different departure for John Carpenter, and I kind of wish he made more movies like this in a way, because he has the ability to do heartfelt dramas. Like the sequence at the end with them two is just very beautifully shot, and it kind of touches your heartstrings. I know that they made a TV series of this, like afterwards, where it deals with his son and everything. And yeah, I'm curious to watch it, but I know I'm gonna hate it. So, but yeah, I generally love Starman, and I think it is one of John Carpenter's best.
Yeah, it's a show with what's his name from the Star of Airplane,
Robert Hayes.
Robert Hayes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a much later movie, but I really like K-Pax. And in a way, I mean, Vern's drawing some out there conclusions, so I figure I can too. But I think K-Pax is like a companion to this in a way, because, you know, it's just from another place. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, I think E.T. You never seen it?
Never seen K-Pax, but I'll look for it.
Oh, you should.
He eats a banana. It's great.
Okay. Okay. You sold me there. Banana. Woo.
With the peel on. Sorry.
I don't know how you can compare, and this is just in a friendly way, but I just would like more explanation on how you would compare this to E.T.
Well, the story is that Columbia Pictures had both scripts, and that the head of the studio had to pick which one he was going to do because he wasn't going to do both films. So he picked Starman, and it ended up that E.T. escaped, and Spielberg got a hold of it, and of course E.T. was a Universal film, right? Yeah. So
Yep.
Yeah.
so Universal ended up with it in turnaround, and they made this one, and E.T. came out first, and this one sat on the shelf for a couple of years before they released it.
So you say
The
that they
themes
were
were
just
very
thinking
similar.
like something about space. Okay.
Yeah,
So you're
well, it's
thinking
about
like-
Well, no,
visitors
it's
from
about-
someplace else visiting the. Go
There
ahead,
you go.
Aaron.
Okay.
It's an emotion,
I get
it's
it
an
now.
emotion- it's an emotional alien story that relies on intense relationship and the character that eventually departs. And I mean,
It's
there's
just that
plenty of
E.T. occupies such a more huge consciousness.
Oh, sure.
You know.
Yeah.
So I just like think of Starman as like maybe a little date movie on the couch with some popcorn. You know.
Starman was the adult version of E.T. E.T.'s
There
a
you
kids
go.
movie, and Starman is about adults. And
I like that.
John Carpenter had bombs on his head because The Thing did not do well at the box office. So he had a bomb with that, and so then he made Christine, which did like a little bit better at the box office wise, and then he did Starman afterwards. So because I know that Thing was such a financial devastation to John Carpenter that he had to do an adaptation of a Stephen King novel, and then this project came along, and Michael Douglas, the producer, hired John Carpenter to do this because he was a big fan of The Thing and Christine, so that's why he got this project.
It'd be like getting Toby Hooper to do 16 Candles. You know, that just wouldn't work.
he could do it.
He could do it. Oh yeah.
He's a good director. He could knock it out. Guaranteed. Suck it,
As long as
Dutch.
there's a chainsaw in there somewhere.
chainsaw on the back of that
It should be
Bentley.
noted. Should be noted that Jeff Bridges got an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, this,
Yeah,
by the way, is
okay.
the only
Vern said
film.
that right away.
This is the only Carpenter film with an Academy Award nomination.
Yeah.
Vern said that right away that he had got an Oscar nomination, rightfully so.
Yeah.
I have some thoughts on Starman, but before I just want to make sure to mention that after Starman, Carpenter would go on to do Big Trouble in Little China, one of Jay Cluett's absolute
Oh my
favorites. I mean, I know he's very
Suck it,
shy
Jay.
about admitting that, but he can't stop talking about Big Trouble in Little China. He just loves mentioning how much he loves that film. All the time. Starman, comparisons to E.T. aside, it is part of that thing of when you make the biggest movie ever, you're going to make, okay, what are the movies you make that spawn from that? Movies that capture the zeitgeist, well, now you have to capitalize on that, right? So, like, if after Star Wars, you get a lot of Star Wars knockoffs. After Pulp Fiction comes out, a bunch of Tarantino knockoffs. Starman, I think, is the best of the E.T. knockoffs that arrived after E.T. easily. I think it's such a wonderful film. Karen Allen is so good in this.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you mentioned her name. Keep going.
She's
yeah.
great.
Oh,
She's
she's
great.
certainly equal to Jeff Bridges, but of course
She's
he has
so
the
good.
showier part. So
He does, but like that, Vern, you mentioned like the final scene, and yeah, it's so affecting to watch her watching, him leave essentially. It's and knowing that, despite because she starts on a low, right? Her husband has died, but by the end of this thing, she's pregnant. Like there's more that's going to come, and you can feel confident that she's going to take this whole experience and like drive it forward in like the most positive of ways, and it's really lovely.
Karen Allen,
And
Academy
go ahead.
Award winning moment. Karen Allen has this moment where they're both in a diner, and Jeff Bridges asked her to describe what a honeymoon is, and the way that she describes about the love that she had for her husband. And it's such a weird thing to see because she's seen Jeff Bridges as her husband, but it's not her husband, and just the emotions on her face, just brilliant.
This is a good grounds if you're trying to argue with somebody about Karen Allen being a nobody. Like if you're watching, Raiders, and somebody goes, "Oh, wonder why they picked her," because I used to think that way. So, but just tell them to look at Starman. I mean, she's part of Hollywood, but I think a lot of people don't really recognize her.
All right. So in addition to Animal House and
I forgot about
this is
Animal
the
House.
tough part about being the old man, the Bill Murray Scrooged.
No, I agree with
Oh
you.
yes,
on
of
that one.
course, yes.
She had a great 10-year career,
Yeah.
and then everything else was just didn't work quite as well for some reason or other. I'm not sure why. Todd, let's see if you can find a reason why your next film is something that we should remember better.
Well, that's the thing. I'm the three movies I have so far are all like among the top 5 moneymakers of 1984. So I'm thinking I want to go with something a little more out there this time. maybe more of a cult film. I think I am going to go with Night of the Comet.
Thank God.
Okay.
I love that movie.
Damn
I'm
it,
to
good
say
choice. Shit.
I mean, this is I remember back in the day, it wasn't a big hit, but I remember Siskel and Ebert having a lot of love for it. It's just a really clever little movie, dealing with a end of the world type of scenario with these two. I don't think Valley Girls is the right.
Oh,
They're Valley
Girl.
Girls.
Yeah,
That's the whole deal. They are Valley Girls.
I live in flyover country, so I don't know technically what makes Valley Girl other than the talk.
They live in the valley. That's what makes the Valley Girls.
Works for me. But
they're up there in Reseda with the Karate Kid.
Yeah, but it's got a great premise to it. I mean, again, I've got a couple of movies here where we've got a mix of comedy and horror going on, and this is another case of that. And I mean, the performance is just wonderful. Catherine Mary Stewart is really great. Kelly Maroney is really great. There's a special place in my heart for any movie with a scene that involves zombie stock boys, because I spent a lot of time as a stock boy in my youth.
All right.
There's
that list of zombie stock boy movies.
So I mean, Night of the Comet is just a really fun. I mean, just kind of the definition of an '80s cult movie for me.
Oh yeah, this one rocks. I was happy to see this in theaters once for like a marathon screening. I don't think it gets enough credit for how cool it looks. Tom Everhart, the director. The fact that it's Night of the Comet is significant because it takes place after this comet is passed, and after it happens, the world becomes like this dystopian I Am Legend wasteland, and it looks cool. Like the
red skies and all that,
red and orange skies that you get out of it. It's a cool looking flick. I mean, and you're at a time when Craven and like Tom Savini and others, they're like doing a lot for the realm of horror. This movie looks cool if it's monsters and shit. Like it's a good looking film in addition to being very funny and enjoyable.
Daddy would have gotten us Uzis.
Exactly.
Mary Warnoff was in this, and she has a great role in this as well. I liked that.
Mm-hmm.
Great cast. Michael Bowen's in this one too. Michael Bowen. All right. Oh.
Yeah. Young Michael Bowen.
All right, Todd. What's your wraparound and your final choice?
My last pick. So I always say on draft shows that the last pick is always kind of just for me. It's not designed to necessarily win me any votes, but it's just kind of to make me happy to mention the film. So I am going to go for my final pick with Ninja 3: The Domination.
Okay,
good. Is just one of the craziest movies.
Can I stop you for 1 second before you go? Are you serious? That's all I want to know.
I am absolutely serious.
I have not seen it, but I will see it if you're serious.
So, first of all, I remember when this came out and seeing the ads in the paper and stuff, and I was like, Ninja 3? I don't remember Ninja 1 and Ninja 2. Ninja 1 is Enter the Ninja. Ninja 2 is Revenge of the Ninja. They have nothing to do with this film.
All Troll 2 situation.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're movies released by Canon that involve ninjas and Sho Kazugi's in them in some way, but he plays a different role in every film. But Ninja 3: The Domination, I mean, how could I not pick a movie that is a ninja movie mixed with The Exorcist, mixed with Flashdance? Okay, Lucinda Dickey plays a wire worker. What do they call it? She works on the telephone wires by day.
The line woman. Yeah.
She's an aerobics instructor by night.
Obviously.
And she gets possessed by the spirit of an evil ninja and goes out around Los Angeles exacting his revenge on all the people that did him wrong. It is a gloriously goofy movie, and I highly recommend that you watch Ninja 3: The Domination.
Do I need to watch the other ones before this one, or can I watch it myself?
You do not.
You do not need to.
Okay. All right.
I would recommend finding it in like a public screening. Like I'm sure that'll pop up in like a one of those random repertory theaters at some point. That would just be because it's a great kind of audience experience to have watching a movie like that.
Vern, do you have anything to rival Ninja 3: The Domination for your final choice?
How can I? Shit, that's gonna be tough to do. But I am gonna take sort of thing that Todd did and pick a movie that's not very well loved, but still a movie with my favorites there. So many great choices here. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do Supergirl.
Wow. That was one on my list for, personal picks as well.
Helen Slater as Supergirl was my version of Supergirl with those legs and everything. Faye Dunaway is just camping it out big time as the villain in this.
The whole cast is hamming it up.
Oh yeah, Hurt Proctor,
except for Helen Slater.
Yeah. Hurt Proctor as a love interest. It's so weird to see him as Ellis in Die Hard, and then see him as a heartthrob in this one. The love interest is weird. Yeah, not the best of the Superman movies. I get that. The 78 Superman's gonna be the best, but I can't help it. I just have appreciation of how campy and crazy and almost so bad it's good type of quality. I love Supergirl mainly because of Helen Slater and those freaking outfit, the legs right there, oh gosh, yeah. So yeah, just for my own perverted reasons, that's why I'm gonna pick Supergirl as my fifth and final pick. Probably the pick that's gonna make me lose this draft, but I'm still picking it anyways.
I've always wanted to see the prequel to Supergirl where Peter O'Toole walks into a movie studio office and says yes.
Peter O'Toole, I forgot Peter O'Toole was basically drunk throughout this whole thing. And before I forget, the Cinema Snob is doing a whole video about all the movies of 1984. It's 5 hours long, but it is amazing. He goes through every single movie that came out in 1984, and it's brilliant.
Well, I hope this one gets the 30 seconds it deserves to be referenced.
Yeah, this movie is reprehensibly awful.
I wholeheartedly admit it's bad. But I don't know. There are certain things about it that charm me. I love the scene where Helen Slater first shows up on Earth and kind of is discovering her powers, and that she can fly and all that. It's very sweet, and I think that's one of the things that resonates for me about the movie is I think here's this young actress being given her first shot, and she really gives it everything she's got. The movie around her is awful. The veteran stars that she's in this movie with are atrocious, but she's given it all she's got, and so I will always love Helen Slater as Supergirl, the defender of Popeye's chicken franchises everywhere.
Yes.
My issue with this is the same as Superman 3, which is why I think 4 is better than both. Why is this 2 hours? Make this make it 90 minutes and it's fun.
Wait.
Make it 2 hours and it's a slog.
Wait, Supergirl's 2 hours long?
It's over 2 hours long.
There's extended. there's multiple versions of it out there. There's extended versions. Superman 3 is the stuff of nightmares. The robot scene in Superman 3 gave me it scarred me. That's still a vivid childhood nightmare memory for me.
If Supergirl's 2 hours long, give an Academy Award to that editor because that time flew by fast for me.
No, it does not fly by. That's my issue with it.
As punishment for picking Supergirl, you are now required to go find all the versions of Supergirl and watch them and compare them and post about what the differences are so that we can understand even more why we're not watching this movie.
5 different cuts of Helen Slater Supergirl. Oh, please stop me.
Damien, it's your turn.
Yeah.
You're finishing up.
This is my final, and I'm so glad I get the opportunity because I was counting and I thought, oh my God, I think I've done all mine. No, this is one I got to tell you guys about because I did a long series on all these splatter movies, and the one that came out in '84 is The Toxic Avenger.
Oh,
wait a minute.
We're really
we don't
going
have a lot
for
of
it on the
buy-in
last
there.
round here.
We don't have a lot of buy-in there. I almost forced myself to watch these because I just wanted to try something different, and I just love them. There's so much there to love. I mean, we were talking earlier about, kind of reminiscing and stuff. Well, this one's just I was going to say something with the letter T and the letter A, but I'm not going to. I just can't think of the poetry of it anymore. I had it earlier, but it's gone. Anyway, there's a lot here in that realm, and it's funny too. I mean, you've got a nerd. I mean, the nerd of all nerds. Have you all seen it?
I've seen Toxic Avenger. Yeah, I've seen all 3 of them.
Okay.
I started all 5.
3.
There's 5. I saw 5.
Listen. If you can drop down your effective filter, this is a freaking good time. That's really all I need to say. I love these. I think there's 4 of them, and they get, as most things, they get progressively worse. But this one is so great. It's this Lloyd Kaufman guy. He had this dream to make these what he calls splatter horror, and it's really comedic. I guess you could say it's graphic, but it's so funny to look at it in 2024. What they thought was graphic is so silly, But the Toxic Avenger is great because you take a nerd. It's like Revenge of the Nerds a little bit, if you haven't seen this. It's a little bit like Revenge of the Nerds, where the nerd, sort of becomes kind of the anti-hero. And, I had my first girlfriend at 27. Okay. I was in the nerd category. But it's one of those things. Maybe you do have to study it and do a big, long series on it like I did. But I just have a real love for these movies, and Lloyd Kaufman in particular, the creator of these movies. And, I could do without the nerd connection, but I just like it how the nerd sort of becomes the Toxic Avenger, and instead of caring about how he looks all the time, not getting the girls, he doesn't care about how he looks all the time, and they just flock to him. So, anyway,
he only has one girlfriend in this. It's not like girls are flocking to him. He
bad
dates
use
one
of
girl.
words.
He
You're
dates
right.
one black girl. But I enjoy this movie very much because he's like this very kind of like annoying sort of like character to the point where I want to smack him around, and then these people at the gym play this prank on him, and then he falls into a vat of chemical waste and becomes the Toxic Avenger, and he's there to protect the citizens of New Jersey. And this is probably like the Citizen Kane of the Troma movies that came out there, and it's the movies that they built a franchise over. Like Disney had Mickey Mouse built a franchise based on that one character. Troma had a whole franchise and company based on the Toxic Avenger. They made a cartoon series called Toxic Crusaders that came out in the 90s. There was a video game that came out of this too, and now there's a new 4K release. They're trying to plan a remake of this movie.
They made the remake. It's just not been released yet, which is weird because it's been well received and it's just sitting on a shelf somewhere.
They're having difficulties trying to find
well received,
for this.
Yes.
Yeah. Peter Dinklage is going to be in the remake.
Well, Aaron, it would just be delightful if you were picking the Revenge of the Nerds as your next pick.
I'm good without. I don't need a lot of toxic homophobic films on my list. So I'm good without having Revenge of the Nerds. I think Howard at least appreciates that. Just to make, outside of Baby Buckaroo Banzai, Toxic Avenger is at least the best superhero film of 1984, so it has that going for it.
Hey, thank you.
I'm at a loss because I have 2 options here, and I like both these options. That said, I've purposely avoided so many great films that we have not mentioned.
I got so many I could have picked too.
So
you should do one where we flip it, like the ones we wouldn't pick. We should do a show like that, and just anyway. That's how I think.
I was so tempted to do Break Into Electric Boogaloo because Todd just you just chose what was your pick just now?
Ninja
3. Same director.
And Lucinda Dickey again. I mean, somebody else takes the first break, and we can get all 3 Lucinda Dickey movies from 1984.
So I'm tempted to go that direction, but I'm gonna go another way. I'm gonna go Footloose.
Nice.
I didn't see Footloose until way late, like 2011, I believe. I think because the remake was coming out, and I'm like, I've never actually seen Footloose. And I've always had a perception of it up to that point because I just figured, okay, it's like some cheesy dance movie from the 80s. It's probably not that great. It's just like I think people like I don't know, Grease, where it's just like there's nostalgia for it. But watching Footloose,
this is killing me. How old were you? I'm sorry. You don't have to answer.
I'm an 86 baby.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you saw Footloose because I don't think many people your age would bother with it.
I mean,
I think it's great
as far as a fan favorite. But regardless, no. So I finally saw Footloose, and I was impressed by how much I liked the movie. Like it's a fun music drama-ish thing with a lot of dance and over-the-top numbers or whatnot. I like this cast a lot. I think Kevin Bacon's very fun here. Chris Penn, the late Chris Penn, is quite good as like the nerdy best friend who learns how to dance. Laurie Singer, obviously the female lead, she's good as well, and John Lithgow, who's just all over the 80s, and I love John Lithgow, but him as the stern reverend who demands dance. The premise of this movie alone, like I honestly just didn't know much about Footloose beyond like, hey, come to town, he dances, right? I didn't know that the idea was that they banned dance, because that seems so absurd to me. It seems like such a crazy thing. But Kevin Bacon comes on and is like, yeah, Slaughterhouse 5, great book. I'm like, I like this guy rules. What's the problem here? And there's like there's like a big tractor chicken chase in this movie. There's like all kinds of like fun stuff that I ended up enjoying far more than I expected to. I was like, no, I'm a big fan
I just want to tell you, I'm older than you, but I'll tell you this, just from observing our world, pretty relevant, buddy.
Yeah.
Pretty relevant.
Oh yeah.
They banned To Kill a Mockingbird in some states, if you can believe that. Well, so it's back.
Yeah, I'm well aware, but
go ahead. I was going to say I prefer the remake to this, mainly because the way that they describe why dancing is banned is better told in the remake, and I love the fact too that there are more genres of music in the remake than this one. The 80s one is stuck mainly in the 80s, all right? The one that came out in 2011, that could have been made in the 90s or 10 years or so. So I like the variety of the remake more, but I will not deny that the original is still a great movie. It's got probably a little bit better casting, but I still prefer the remake.
That's the main thing. In that regard, like, I could agree with you, like, music-wise. I think Craig Brewer, who has a background in music, like, he knows what he's doing in those kind of choices and how to update that film. I can agree that it has elements that I think work quite well as far as how do you do this again. And I think it's a testament to Footloose that is not my genre of music. That is not the kind of movie music that I'm putting on ever, honestly.
Sure.
So the fact that I'm so enraptured in what that movie's giving me with that soundtrack, that's a win for that film from my perspective. And yes, the cast is just much better. Like, if you ask me who's in Footloose 2011, I'm going to look at you and be like, people. Like,
Dennis Quaid. Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, Julianne Hough. That's all I can remember.
Quaid is the new guy. Yeah, the new Reverend. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm surprised that you said The Toxic Avenger was the second greatest or the greatest superhero movie of 1984 when you had Footloose right there. You know, Ren is the superhero that is worshipped by Star-Lord, so I don't understand how you didn't make that connection almost automatically. We're holding out for a hero here, and that music is great. Howard, you're up.
Well, this is the artiest of my artiest choices. It's called L'Argent. It's the late, great French director Robert Bresson's final film. He started making films after the war, World War II, and it was my favorite film of the year. He's a filmmaker that I have difficulty recommending to people because of his style. He's a neorealist squared. He uses non-actors. However, he goes beyond using non-actors because he doesn't want them to act at all. He doesn't want them to give a performance, so he does whatever he can to stop them from even trying to act. So I can understand how the style would be off-putting to people, but I always found him fascinating. He sort of went out with a blaze of glory from the critic's perspective. The story is about an innocent man who is accused of passing counterfeit money. He goes to prison, and his life continues to fall apart around him. And the ending is very tragic, and for me was extremely moving.
Howard, I think L'Argent is a very good movie. I'm also pretty sure it's a 1983 movie.
Oh, you said it, not me. I didn't want to say that.
I immediately went to IMDb to double check it. It was 1983, except in the United States, its theatrical release was March of 1984.
Right.
So it did come out in 83 in many parts of the world, and it did debut in 83 at a film festival. But in the U.S., it did get a 1984 release, a limited release. So I'm going to let this one slide under the rule there. Howard, you're perfectly fine picking it.
When I looked at these, I went and looked at, for this one, I went and looked, well, when was it released in the U.S.? So
that's it.
And same for The Fourth Man, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and I'll tell you, I mean, at the risk of putting something out there with Richard still having one pick left out there, but I have avoided Blood Simple on my list
That's an
because
'84 film.
it's an '84 film, but it was released in the U.S. in '85. So
Yes.
otherwise, I would have picked Blood Simple a few rounds back.
Blood Simple was my number one pick if I didn't have a theme for my list. Like, that's easily my '84 movie.
Well,
to say on Howard's pick because it's a really good fucking movie.
Yes. Talk about it. Talk about it. I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
It's a fantastic film. I think I have not seen all of Robert Bresson's movies, but the ones I have I really like. Like I love A Man Escaped. I think Pickpocket's really great.
Diary of a Country Priest.
Yes. So like he's a director that I've always wanted to like experience more of because every time I see a movie of his, I'm very impressed. But I have seen La La Land, and yes, I love the premise. I love the kind of the exchange is taking place and whatnot. Like it's just very clever in how it handles the story, the narrative.
Is he better than my French pick of Jeannard Schwartz, who did Supergirl and also did Jaws 2? I mean, that's a French filmmaker that made stuff.
Inches past.
Okay.
Todd, did you see this film? Because you were correcting us on the date.
No, I haven't. I happened to look up the dates as well.
Okay.
No, but I haven't seen it. I was starting to say though that I think I can guess what Richard's last pick is.
Oh, well, it's
unless he throws me a curveball here.
I'm sitting here looking at. I've got 6 movies listed that I would put into this spot. Any of them are great. We just talked about The Last Starfighter. I'm so tempted to pick it, but I'm not going to because I want to give some credit to something else. Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah. No, yeah. I was between that and Night of the Comet on my previous round, but no, I'm thinking something else that Richard might choose.
As they're really battling for Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Well, I tell you that the choice comes down to 2 films that were loathed when they were released, and
keep going.
I've seen, and both of them I hold in incredibly high regard. Oh,
can I guess what it is? Can I just say what it is? What I think it is.
Go ahead.
Is it Dune?
That's one of them.
I was thinking as well.
That's one of them.
Oh.
The other one, though, is the one I've seen most recently, and that's the one I'm. Oh, son of a gun! You know what? I'm gonna go with Dune.
Woo! Told it.
I'm gonna go with Dune, the David
What
Lynch
was
film.
the other one?
Body Double.
Oh, that was almost on my list too.
Oh, I love Body Double, but I'm going with Dune because I have defended this movie for 40 years. I think it is a spectacularly looking film. I know that people dump on it because it seems incomprehensible as you're watching it. It's not incomprehensible. You just have to be paying close attention. I think they could have made this film without the narrative voices being popped in, and it would still be perfectly understandable as long as people were attentive to what was going on in the movie. I still say that some of these sequences are, the training sequence with the shield practice. I like the training sequence of the shield practice in 1984 much better than I do in the 2021 version of Dune. I know that people criticize it because it looks blocky and awkward and animated, and that's why I love it, because it looks like something that might really be happening, and it's so fascinating. And the Baron Harkonnen is, to me, so much better a character in this movie than he is in the remakes. Now, not the remakes, but the new versions, I should say. The new versions are fantastic, and I am not diminishing them whatsoever. But when you
is that called a reimagining? Maybe a reimagining.
Yeah, it's a remake of the story. I don't care how you.
There's no real term that applies.
Yeah,
it's a new adaptation.
A new adaptation. I like that. That's a phrase that explains it pretty clearly. I just think Dune looks fantastic, and although that there are some elements of it that maybe it could move a little bit more efficiently and maybe not be as obtuse in a couple of spots, it's still something that I treasure, and I'm gonna ask people to give it another chance because I think it deserves it.
I prefer
Should they give
the
the new
look
one a
of the
chance?
84 version over the look of the 2021 version. I think all the set designs and the costumes, it just stands out more in David Lynch's movie more than Denis Villeneuve's. I think they're both brilliant directors. I'm just always going to prefer that version of Dune. Plus, you got music of Toto in there as well too. So yeah,
Oh,
84
really? What
version.
music?
It's the songs from Toto to the store.
Did the score for Dune, yeah.
Oh, I thought there was like a hit song. Wow, I'm really gonna go back and look at. Did you read the book, Rich?
Yes. Yeah, of
Okay,
course I did.
That's usually the case when
That's, you
people
know.
love Dune. It's the old one anyway.
See,
They
I did not
usually
read the
have read the
books.
book.
It helps.
The new one.
It-
I don't know what to do about the new one. I haven't seen it yet. Should I watch it, Rich?
watch both parts. All 4.5 hours of it.
Oh my gosh. Well, is it worth it though?
Yes.
Most people I know are
Yes.
telling me to watch
They're
it,
both
but I
excellent.
just can't get into it.
But first,
I
watch the
tried.
David Lynch film. So make it an 8-hour day. You know, plan a lunch
Watch
in the middle.
the David
I do
Lynch
that
version.
Watch
then
the David
Alan
Lynch
Smithy
version.
version, and then watch the both Denis Villeneuve movies.
So
Okay, will do,
I-
man. I can't wait. Maybe today.
So I never read the book, and I didn't watch Dune until not too close to the Villeneuve version coming out because I wanted to have some distance. I didn't want to be like, let me watch this, then watch the same story again. So I watched it like a year and a half in advance,
wow.
knowing that the Villeneuve version was being made. But then, COVID happened and made things difficult. But regardless,
remember
I watched the David Lynch version, and Lynch is someone that I've come around to a lot more in the past 10 years than beforehand. So I was more primed to enjoy it. And I was watching Dune, and for the first hour, I was like, why does this movie get a bad rap? I get that it's maybe ambitious and it doesn't have the kind of sheen that the Star Wars films have as far as how it's using visual effects and whatnot, but it certainly seems like it has ideas and it's doing something. And then I realized why. It's because I think the second half sucks. I think it just gets to the desert and then it's not fun anymore. The idea that I would get bored by sandworms is impressive to me because it's like sandworms all the day, all the time in my book. I'm out there I think the movie gets so bogged down in its second half, it becomes such a cluster of just if anyone thinks Dune is hard to understand, the Lynch version, I don't know what movie they're watching. It's so straightforward. David, you mentioned Joseph Campbell. It's so dedicated to a very standard storyline where I can only imagine the book, which I know is very dense, has so many things that this version robs of the book, which is why I think
it's like the Bible to a lot of people.
I can
really
understand
is.
that. And that's why I think the Villeneuve, despite not having read the book, that's why I think the Villeneuve versions have resonated so well across the board for people that have read the books, for people that aren't sci-fi people, that people for the Academy. I think it just hits at a lot of things in a way that makes it digestible, but also intriguing and fascinating.
I guarantee you, the same people that like Dune and read the book have Dungeons and Dragons on their shelf, or at least had it on their shelf.
I have nothing against the population that admires Dune. I'm just watching this movie and I'm like,
no,
all right.
I'm just giving you the guy who went through it perspective.
I have plenty of friends that
It's
are
classic.
obsessed
I
with
love people
Dune
like that. Yeah.
Watching 84 Dune, I'm like, I didn't hate this, but I see why the reception is the way it is. Watching the Villeneuve version, I was like, I'm into this world. I want to see them make the other stories or whatnot. I'm so into what that narrative is giving me so far.
Yeah.
That's so different because I just like the dirtiness of Lynch's version. I feel like Villeneuve's version is like I'm walking into an Apple store.
Well, I tell you, the vehicles in the Villeneuve films are much better than the ones in the Lynch film, but the villains in the Lynch film are better. How do you beat Sting in a jockstrap?
Easily, you get Austin Butler and his bald cap looking fucking badass. That's how. I think Sting is certainly making choices. I don't disagree there. He's better than Steve Guttenberg as far as 80s acting.
But have you seen Steve Guttenberg wearing just a jock?
Oh, I'm sure glad it wasn't Steve Guttenberg playing.
That's like the
Fade.
subplot of Three Men and a Little Lady.
Oh my God, I forgot about that movie. How funny! You know a lot for your youth.
Steve Guttenberg cast in Dune Messiah.
Yeah.
He's from one of the other planets. He's a he's one of the High Republic or whatever.
Well, when they do make Dune Messiah and we get the turn that people don't know is coming, I think that'll be an interesting reaction to watch, because
I'm avoiding what that story is, so I'm glad you're only hinting at something, and I'm not blind. Like, I have an idea of where things are gonna go, but I am honestly anticipating what's going to happen next in that narrative.
It takes some dramatic shifts.
I'm sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, we have had a lot of fun talking about 1984. We've exhausted our lists. We came up with some obviously mainstream films, some wild outside the box films, some foreign language films. We've got a pretty good list here. I'm going to put the list together. We'll put it up on a poll, and we'll let the Lamb community vote for it. Then, Vern, let's start with you. Do you have something that you want us to be paying attention to on Cinema Recall or someplace else?
Well, yeah, the only thing that's really going on with Cinema Recall right now is I am in the midst of editing an all-new adaptation of Reservoir Dogs. I'm doing a radio adaptation of Reservoir Dogs, but with an all-female cast. You can hear the first 10 minutes on our podcast. I'm doing episodes right now, but I'm sort of like re-releasing older episodes as I'm putting together this new project right there. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. It should hopefully be done by the end of August. I'm hoping with my work schedule and everything like that there too. But yeah, Reservoir Dogs audio drama adaptation is my new thing that I'm working on. If you're a Patreon member, you can get updates of it as they come out right there. But yeah, just wait for that.
Vern.
Yes.
If you don't have enough females, could I do it in my female portrayal voice?
Well, it's already been done.
Valley Girl?
It's already been done. It's already been recorded. I'm just working on it.
I can't wait,
now.
man. What a great idea. You always have great ideas.
Is it a word-for-word script?
Yes. They're just changing their, they're referring to each other as he, she instead of he.
The pronouns, whatever. I get that.
Yeah.
But I was curious because do you have a group of women talking about Madonna still, or do you update the music artist? Okay.
No, it's about Madonna's. Yeah, Madonna's later version. No, none of the dialogue has been changed.
Got it. Okay. It sounds cool. I'm into that.
Thank you.
Nito
Richard?
Burrito, dude.
Come on, Rich. It's 1984, the year we made contact.
Wait, that's right. 2010 did come out that year.
Yeah. There's a lot of great ones we didn't like.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, Once Upon a Time in America.
That's what I'm saying. You should flip it. We should do like a part B, and everybody does the bottom of their list first.
There was Electric Dreams, Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Final chapter, yeah.
16 Candles came out. You mentioned Body Double.
Conan the Destroyer, of course.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Splash.
Splash. Oh my God, Splash.
Red Dawn. The original Red Dawn.
Hannah.
I should put Splash over Supergirl. Fuck.
Jackie Chan's Wheels on Meals, which rules.
I cannot believe I had a chance to put Splash on there, but I put Supergirl. Damn it. Oh well. I'm still going to do it, damn it.
While we wait for whatever Rich is doing, I watched The Pope of Greenwich Village for the first time. Are you guys fans of that movie?
I've never
seen
watched
it, but
the
it's
whole
been a
thing.
long
Is it
time.
worth watching?
I liked it fine. I feel like the reputation for it's high, so I was curious if that holds true of you guys, because I thought it was fine, but I wasn't blown away by it in the way that it seemed like
I
others
think that's pretty much my thought as well. I mean, it's like I said, it's been a while since I've watched it, but the memory's not sticking in my mind. I watched something last night that I'm kind of surprised Aaron didn't go to, just
Beat
because.
Street.
No, The Return of Godzilla.
It's not a favorite Godzilla film of mine. I think
but it's a Godzilla film.
Yeah.
So
It has animatronics.
Todd, at any other occasion where we're talking about 1984 movies, obviously going to bring up Godzilla. But if we're talking a draft, I mean, I'm down to business here.
Totally. But some people might pick a Godzilla movie that way. I mean, I saw the Kong Skull Island. Nobody liked that, but I love that. And it's not 84, so I shouldn't be talking about it.
Even if we've lost Richard, we could totally do the rest of the plugs because I've got it recording on the Skype feed, and Richard can still get it that way.
That's great.
So I I will jump in as as substitute host and say, Aaron, what do you have to plug?
Sure. Okay. I am the host of Out Now with Aaron and Abe. My friend Abe and I discuss the weekly movie releases, and we have a lot of fun bonus episodes too. Currently, for our commentary tracks that we do every month, we're doing an international run where we're talking about some films celebrating anniversaries from overseas. We talked about Run Lola Run in June. We just talked about Chungking Express from Wong Kar-wai celebrating its 30th anniversary. And this coming month, we're talking Kiki's Delivery Service celebrating its 35th anniversary.
How fun.
So that's a whole lot of fun. But yeah, weekly movie releases all there. I am the editor-in-chief at We Live Entertainment. All my movie reviews can be found there. I am on all the socials at Aaron's PS4. And speaking of looking back at films, I am the co-host of the Summer of 2004 at 20 with friends Brandon Peters and Scott Mendelson. We talk about the Summer of 2004 movie season on a weekly basis.
So, Damien, what do you have to promote?
After this, I do music, and I'm on YouTube as Lipless Fish. So I don't even want to get into what it means. It means fun stuff, but it was just people have gravitated to it for 30 years more than Damian Riley. So it's Lipless Fish, and it's just me. Anyway, all my new music's on there. I made an album this summer, and it was freaking great. I just love playing it. I just performed over here at the Hilltop Tavern Inn in Apple Valley. Everybody seemed to like it, so you can listen to it over there. My new album's called Zen y la Fermata, and it's all the same picture. You'll know they're in the same album. I think there's a playlist of my new album, so I'd like to plug that. And then also just Riley on Film, where I do this stuff. I want to take everything that I didn't see today, and I'm going to do it. Sometimes I wait a week. I'm one of those. Sometimes I'll podcast like every night for 3 days and then not for 3 months, But I'm planning on hitting all those. So if you want to tune in to Riley on Film, you'll see my view on some of the things that were mentioned by Howard and stuff like the L'Argent sounds really interesting, and some of the other ones that I put on my watch list as we were talking. So that would be at RileyOnFilm.com.
Excellent. And Howard, what do you have to promote?
Well, not too much. I have now set up. I have my next guest for Pop Art finally. It's going to be Bubba Wheat, I believe, is the name he uses on these podcasts, and they'll probably be in late September. So I think I'm finally getting back into recording again.
Oh, good.
Very good. Very good.
You have to have me on if you want.
And as for me, I've always got episodes of the Forgotten Filmcast posting. I know at some point in the episode, Vern mentioned that he was on the show recently where we talked about Cuffs from 1992, starring Christian Slater. And this most recent episode actually was about a 1984 film that did not make our draft, a film called Kidco, about a bunch of kids that try to make their fortune by selling manure. So that is...
Oh, shit.
they succeed and they get sued by the state of California in the process. So yeah. And then next episode should be up probably later this week. Haven't recorded yet, but we'll be recording later tonight, where we are discussing a 1981 horror film called The Pit. So that is coming up.
I've seen the cover of that. I'd never seen it though. Should I watch it first? You guys do a lot of spoilers.
We don't shy away from spoilers on my show.
Okay, I'm going to watch it first then. I'll watch it first.
But anyway, I think, maybe Richard will close things out here back in his own studio, so I'll let him do that.
I'm sorry I lost you guys. Can you hear me now?
We hear you now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
We did all the plugs without you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Bye.
It's a comet.
That's it. Don't go outside. Let's get into our iron cell or bank vault or wherever
film
it is.
Projection booth.
That's it. Film projection booth for the nitrate films, and we'll be protected from that. Well, thank you guys.
This was fun. Thank you so much.
We had a great time.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you for joining the show this week. Hopefully it'll all come together pretty evenly. And don't forget to promote the show and vote for your favorite slate of films.
You've been listening to the Lambcast. If you have an idea for a show or would like to join us on the Lambcast, Contact us at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Find us on Facebook, just search for Lambcast, or on X, formerly Twitter, at Lambcast. And you can find us on YouTube as well. The Lamb site can be found at largeassmovieblogs.com. We'd also love it if you would leave a review on iTunes.